Happy Tuesday, happy Thanksgiving week to all of you. Thank you for watching NFL's Beat the Line show right here on Pub Sports Radio, coming off our fourth straight winning week. And all I see are the glaring mistakes that I made last week. Still finished 7-5 plus 1.5 units. There was so many opportunities to make money, and I don't think I got enough of them right. But 4 weeks ago, I was down over 9 units. Now we're sitting here 71-64 at 52.6%, down 0.25 units, ROI minus 0.19%, average line minus 111. Quick review of last week. Falcons +7 started off with a loss. Then Bears +6 cashed. Houston, Tennessee under 44.5 cashed. Jaguars +6.5 lost. Bengals -1 cashed. Cincinnati, Las Vegas over 49.5 lost. Seahawks +2.5 lost. Giants +11 lost. The 4 midweek additions I made all cashed. Miami, New York Jets under 44.5. Jets team total under 19.5. Pittsburgh, LA Chargers over 47.5. And Chargers team total over 27.5. 4 straight winning weeks. We must make it 5. I did for a few hours feel what it's like to be in the black until the Giants +11, which I didn't like all week. I almost bought off a couple times. But I'm very excited about this show. Thank you guys all so much for joining us. We have Sean Dozier in the house. Thank you, Sean, for rolling with us. Nut Flush, Allen, Gerald Jones, JT, Whack Prescott, Sammy, Calmer, Williams Wrestling, Vancouver City in the house. God, I miss my hometown. Birdie, great group. Thank you guys all so much. Clint Star, the Die Hard MMA podcast, coming up a great Sunday on our NFL Pub Hub. Nut Flush, Slatsy, Real Deal Prime, Snook Slayer, Ray Charles, Dennis Trusty, Prince of the City. What a great group. Thank you guys all so much for joining us. My regular co-host, Mr. Rob Bebenek, is on tour. Stand-up comic. He's on a Western Canada tour. So I got to pick who would join me, and I'm bringing in 2 ringers. I'm so excited to cap the card with both of these gentlemen. First, representing Steeltown in Hamilton, Ontario. I love working with this man. You know him well. Please welcome to the show, Bobano in the house. Bobano, how are you?
I'm great, Jimmy, and I'm happy to fill in for Bebsy. We wish him well on his tour in Western Canada. Great to be with you on Beat the Line, and great to be with not only you, but my right-hand man, my line mate, Conor Mac, on so many shows here on Pub Sports Radio. It's at the point now where, it's like with Conor and I, you get something delivered to your house. You want everything to be present, but it's like the delivery that arrives and all of a sudden there's an accessory missing or one part's missing and the product is no good. That's what it's like with Conor and I. It seems like we got to come as a package deal here, or else the product suffers. So it's good to be with you, Jimmy. Looking forward to breaking down this card. And I got the beer ready to rock. So let's do it.
I also have a beer here and a Kraken double fisting here. It was a very, very difficult day of prep, and I've off to a great start so far in my action tonight. I don't want to freak out and lose my shit. But the man you speak so highly of, I don't get a chance to work with enough. Coming to us live from Las Vegas, Nevada. Please welcome Conor Mac to Beat the Line. CMac, how are you?
Feels great to be here. Nothing against Bebsy, but I love when you brought me on, Jimmy. I don't get enough work with you enough, like you talked about, and I relish this. With me and Bobano here, I thought this would be great. I love to break it down. NFL, after my bullish bullshit horrible on the show about the Falcons, double up was horrible 2 weeks ago. But we went on our super contest. That cost me. So we would have went 10-0 back-to-back weeks, me and Slaughter, the 3 weeks. So I need one more good week if I go 5-0 here to win some money. But if I go back and think of that Falcons, if that gets us in the end, it'll drive me crazy. But football's been good to me. Last week was really good. It was an excellent week, and I'm excited to be here this week. And shout out to everyone in the chat. I'm glad to be here. Bano, always. The bag. Let's get it rolling. Beer's flowing. Let's get to it.
Let's do it. And I've been following along with your super contest action, so I've been seeing how you guys you're a couple good weeks from fucking top 10. So I'm very excited to have you on the show. Let's get right to work. Let's not mess around. We have a lot of games to cap, and we get to start with Thanksgiving Thursday. Let me get all of my action up here and my market moves. Perfect. All right. So how we're going to do this, guys, is I'm going to talk about just the very simple parts of the game, including the market moves and where the cash lies. I will set a table, and then I will go back and forth for game one. Bobano will go first, and then game two, CMac will go first, and that's how we will roll. Again, the chat is such an important part of this show. I will be watching very closely, as will Jose. We will highlight your thoughts and ideas and angles in the chat, and we will be definitely discussing them. Let's get to work. We start Thursday, November 25th, Thanksgiving Thursday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. The Chicago Bears 3-7, 1-4 on the road at Detroit Lions 0-9-1, 0-4 at home. Ford Field in Detroit, Michigan. Detroit here. Oh shit! I fucked this up. I gotta get over to my Thursday. Sorry. Here we go. Detroit opening up as 3.5-point dogs. And that is now going to be 3 at most books. Chicago opened up at Pinnacle at -3.5 and -101. Now they're -3.5, but at +110. So it's moving to 3. And that is telling us all clearly that Goff, coming off his oblique injury, will be under center. This total opened up at 42. It's at 42 at most books. It was 41.5 when I almost bet the under. Today, I held off. I thought it's best just to talk to you guys about it. We have 10,995 tickets in. At this point, 59% of the tickets are on the Detroit Lions and 73% of the cash. We have 44% of the tickets on the over and 53% of the cash. Bears come in off their 5th straight loss, 16-13 at home versus the Ravens, who are playing without Lamar Jackson. After throwing for a career-high 291 yards at Pittsburgh in his previous start, Justin Fields had left the game with injured ribs in the third quarter. He done next to nothing, going 4 for 11 for 79 yards, and he lost a fumble. The Bears had 0 points at this point. I apologize if you hear a little bit of crying in the background. This is the witching hour. This is the witching hour when the kids are going to sleep. It's a battle here. It's a fucking battle. Is it clear?
I'm glad that's part of your life and not mine, Jimmy. But
is it clear? The crying is it clearly in the background?
It's clearly, but I love it. It's to the show. This is like Tuesdays. I love it. I like it. Man. I love that in the back.
Okay. Andy Dalton came in and changed things in a hurry. He ended up 11 for 23 for 201 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Dalton is expected to start this Thursday as Fields will be, we think, inactive with the rib injury. He tested the ribs. He got him tested. They're bruised, not broken. Darnell Mooney caught 5 passes for 121 yards, 1 touchdown. Marquise Goodwin caught 4 passes for 104 yards and a touchdown. Allen Robinson, hamstring, was unavailable. He's listed as questionable. David Montgomery ran 14 times for 58 yards. With Khalil Mack done for the season, Akeem Hicks out with an ankle injury. Robert Quinn stepped up in a big way, 3.5 sacks. Hicks remains questionable. Also, Danny Trevathan was put on IR. We thought, when I bet the Bears initially, I thought they were coming in off of their bye week and they were going to be healthy. And that was not the case when they came in off their bye week, but the defense did look pretty good. They finished with 6 sacks, 9 quarterback hits. Deshaun Gibson Sr. had an interception. Defensive back Duke Shelley got hurt covering a fourth-quarter punt. He's being put on injured reserve. Damian Williams and safety Eddie Jackson were inactive last week and listed as questionable. Bears are second to last in NFL in yards per game and last in passing offense. I had a sense that when they came back from the bye week, and this was another part of my bet, that Justin Fields, coming off his best game as a pro, was going to look good. I was very, very wrong. Had Lamar Jackson not been hurt, I probably don't cover that game, and thankful. So the Bears are averaging 16.3 points per game. They rank 23rd against the run. They give up 343.9 yards. That's 24 points per game, but they are tied for the league lead with 31 sacks. Lions coming off that 31-10 loss at Cleveland Sunday. Jared Goff out with an oblique injury. Tim Boyle came in. He looked bad, 15-23, 77 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And we expect Goff to be back. TJ Hawkinson still caught 6 balls for 51 yards. DeAndre Swift was unbelievable. You knew he was their only option so many times, and he still was getting his 14 carries for 136 yards, 1 touchdown. He's got 266 yards and 47 carries in his last 2 games. He averaged nearly 10 yards per rushing attempt last Sunday versus Cleveland. The defense got 1 sack and 3 quarterback hits. They did pick off Mayfield twice. Halapoulivaati Vaitai went out with a concussion in the second quarter. He won't be available, we don't think, on a short week. Deshaun Hand got hurt in the third quarter. He's questionable. Cornerback A.J. Parker hurt his ankle against the Browns. He's listed as questionable. Linebacker Trey Flowers, offensive tackle Matt Nelson were inactive last week and questionable. Detroit, 197.8 yards per game. They scored just 16 points per game. All of the statistics lead you to an under, but I was surprised they opened it at 42. Let's go to Bobano first up. The first game on Thanksgiving Thursday, Bears-Lions. Bobano, take it away.
Yeah, I mean, this is an interesting one from a Detroit standpoint because coming into their bye week, they had that rough game right before their bye week, and I was interested to see how they'd come out with Dan Campbell's squad winless, and I figured against Pittsburgh, they'd have fire in their belly. They'd want to play a really strong game, and they did. You know, they took Pittsburgh to overtime that ended in a tie, 16-16, and then last week against Cleveland, I thought they'd be in a much tougher situation on the road against a Browns team battling for their playoff lives, and once again found their way in the game in spite of the fact that, look, Tim Boyle's not an NFL quarterback. He's not a starting quarterback caliber player. Simple as that. We saw that last week. It was rough. And what was impressive about Detroit in that loss to Cleveland last week, guys, is the fact that everybody knew the passing game is not something you have to fear. Everybody knew you didn't have to worry about Tim Boyle too much. So you should be able to stack the box, stop the run against the Lions. But that's 2 weeks in a row now. Coming out of the bye week, we've seen Detroit run the football and run the football effectively with DeAndre Swift. They've been blowing open holes for the run game against Pittsburgh and Cleveland, you know, in these 2 games after the bye week. So it gives you hope for this Lions offense going into this game. And, you know, as of early in the week, we weren't sure if we were going to see Jared Goff, but the big report today is trending toward playing Thursday, likely to play Thursday, coming off that oblique injury, back at practice. And look, Jared Goff's had an up and down year, but you're going to take him in a heartbeat, you know, over Tim Boyle as your starting quarterback here in this game. On the flip side for Chicago, I don't know what to expect from this team. They're going on the road, a short week. There's reports flying around all over the place that Matt Nagy's been fired already as head coach, and that he is still somehow going to be on the sideline and coach this team in this game. And the reason he is because it was a short week. They didn't want to make a change with just a game just a couple of days later. It makes no sense to me, Connor. You're 100% right. I don't know where that puts this team's psyche going into this game. But one thing I do know about Detroit is they've shown you 2 weeks in a row against some solid teams against the run that they could run the football with DeAndre Swift. We're seeing this team battle tooth and nail down to the wire 2 weeks in a row. We're seeing a team playing with the urgency, playing with the desperation of a team that doesn't want to go winless, of a team that wants to get that first win. And on the flip side, you got the Bears in a state of chaos after a brutal loss to Baltimore, considering they took the lead late. They let Baltimore and Tyler Huntley go right down the field, bing, bang, boom, couple of plays, pass interference, and they're in the end zone. Ravens take the lead, win the game. Brutal loss for them. They fall to 3-7, and they're in that window now, 3-7, where, you know, they win last week, and instead they go 4-6. It's a different story. Now they're 3-7. The playoff hopes are very, very thin at best for them. I don't trust them here, laying 3.5 on the road. I did take a position with Detroit already. I endorsed that side at +3.5, +3. So give me the Detroit Lions here. I think this is as good a shot as any. This team wants that first win. They've played like it. And look, they've played like it against Pittsburgh and Cleveland. Chicago's not Pittsburgh and Cleveland. This could be win number 1 for the Lions, in my opinion.
Very interesting breakdown. Now that I'm sitting with this spot, and obviously I've been believing in this Bears team this year, and it's worked out fine. I'm actually moving towards the other side. I think that the Bears are just a much better football team. Maybe much is the wrong word. Maybe that's the wrong word. I think they are a better football team than the Detroit Lions. And if everybody's going to push this number to 3, there's going to be pressure on Detroit to get their first win. This is a huge opportunity for them to get their first win. And we have the Bears 1 game off of their bye. Sammy Comer says, I just can't take the Lions when they're a public dog. And Nutflush said, it feels like the whole world is handing the Lions a victory, and the narrative is the Bears are done. Sounds like a typical NFL spot where Bears win. Remember, Dalton will have 0 pass rush. Very, very, very interesting. Let's see if CMac can push me over the top on the Bears or fill me with fear. CMac, take it away.
I thought that last one was very interesting. Who just said that?
Not Flush Allen.
Yeah, not Flush. Yeah, it seems like, this is the Lions Super Bowl. This is Thanksgiving. And usually they get up for it and play better. Let's go over to the Bears. Just tough one. I thought, I was with you, Jimmy. I had the points. But for them to just fold like that in the very end was horrible last week. And I just don't know. I hear these players don't want to play for Nagy, and I don't understand why he's going to go out and coach this freaking football game. Just get him out. He's either in for the rest of the year or he's got to be out. For me, that's what's tough to back the Bears. I do think they're a little better football team. One thing with the Bears, when they're 3-0 when they run the ball 55% of the time. They're 0-7 when they don't. So the key to this is, we talk about the Chargers as a bad run defense. The Lions are 31st. They're right next to them. It's got to be Montgomery. They got to just feed him the ball. Obviously, we don't know if Fields is going to be in or not. I doubt he's going to be in with these ribs if you take a chance. Dalton last week was okay. I think he threw for 202. And he was okay. I think I don't do a ton of props, but I'd be on Montgomery rushing props or receiving props in this game. In some of these games, I'm going to look to this maybe to have some action on for Thanksgiving because I don't love these first, 3 games here. Me and Bobano talked about it on our show yesterday, just a little bit. We touched on the Thursday games. I did like the Lions a tad bit at 3.5, but all this news swirling around, I don't love it. And then let's look at the other side. Boyle didn't do anything. Goff is going to be back, but he did nothing against the Steelers the week before. What did he throw for 50 yards or around the same, 70 yards? Swift did great. He only had 14 carries, 136 yards. This Bears defense, like we talked about, Max out. Some of these guys are going to be out. And it's just not one that I love. If I had more than 3, and if what somebody mentioned in the chat, I've taken the Lions multiple times, and they're 7-4 ATS. And they are at home. It seems just so easy. This team should get this first win, or this is going to be a field goal game. It comes down to it. Do you trust the Bears enough? Do you trust the Bears to win by more than 3, Jimmy? Thursday, Thanksgiving. I don't know if I do with Nagy. It just
doesn't it seem like either of these teams win by a field goal here? It just feels that way. That's the kind of game that this looks and that sets up on a tee to me that one of these teams is going to squeak one out in the latter seconds.
I don't see a blowout. It's tough for me. The Lions' pass defense has been a little bit better. They've been pretty good the last few weeks because they still can't stop the run much. Chubb had 150? They gave up about 190 last week and lost 13-10. So I don't know. It's a very difficult game for me. Like I said, I'd look at Montgomery props, Swift props in this one. Yeah, under a field goal, maybe the Bears. I just don't trust them. To me, the Bears all year have been with points. Obviously, that's with the Lions as well. You don't want to be laying points with any of these teams, and they're not at home. They're on the road. If this is the biggest time as ever, the Lions to get a win, but I don't trust it. I'm just off here. This is a difficult one for me. Like I said, I lean with 3 in the hook, like Bobano had with that, but now that it's at 3, I can't get on with Nagy. I heard, these players just don't want to play for him, and that doesn't make me want to back them here, winning by more than 3. So I'm off.
I think I'm going to end up moving on the Bears at -3 at this point, but we have got to move on. We have a ton of games here. Both of you guys in under 30 seconds. I'm going to start with Bobano. CMac's going to start the next game, but I'll ask both you guys this question. In under 30 seconds, Bobano, why are you not on the under 42 or 41.5?
It definitely has an under pace to it. Both these teams are going to run the football, and both should have success running the ball. Like I think the Lions will have success running the ball because they did so successfully against Pittsburgh and Cleveland. And now at least there's some fear of a little semblance of a passing game with Goff, even though, Amon-Ra St. Brown's their best receiver, which isn't saying much. And I think Montgomery for Chicago can run the ball against Detroit, but it's going to be a run-heavy game plan on offense, both sides. And you're going to see a lot of time off the clock here. And red zone offense has been an issue for both teams. And red zone defense has been good for Detroit. I want to throw that out. The last couple of weeks, their red zone defense has been really good, in fact. So I would lean under. Didn't bet it, but I'd lean that way.
CMac, why do I not bet the under as soon as the show's over?
I don't know. That's where I want to be. this Thanksgiving Day's got me. I've gotten burned the last few weeks. Maybe it's a little bit in my head. And I like both unders. To me, I wish I was on a ton more money. Lions, Browns, Ravens, Bears, the under. I didn't bet it much. That's my only play. I can't take the over. But Thanksgiving Day, I don't know. Interceptions. Maybe Dalton starts throwing it around. I have no idea. To me, though, if you got 42 or 42 and a half, take the under is solid. Once you get under 42, I've just gotten burned by a half a point lately on some of these unders. But if these are two teams, I don't want the over. So, I like the under.
I like the early game under. I don't believe in maybe it's that first taste of Kraken in a long day of hard work, but I don't believe in fairy tales. I don't believe in Disney movies. I don't believe that the Lions are going to get a win because they like their coach. Like I just think that they're not a good football team, and that win against a broken Baker Mayfield, a cover, I should say. Of course,
felt like a win,
but a cover against a broken.
Felt
Baker
like a
Mayfield.
loss to the Browns fans who were booing Baker Mayfield right out of the stadium.
Mayfield acted like it was a loss. Okay, great stuff from both of you guys. I would like to make official picks for you guys with what's going on right now. If you guys don't mind, I love tracking action. It keeps me not listening to my family. Bobano, what would you like? Would you like to move on anything official here with the market that's available right now?
Yeah, at 3, I don't think I'd put it on my card. At 3.5 is official. At 3.5, which is what I bet, I would make it official. So if there's 3.5s, make it official. If there's 3 only widely available, and I think for the most part, I only see one book that's got 3.5, but that would be a difference maker for me.
I can give you plus 3.5 at minus 121.
All right, we'll make it official then.
Bobano, that's available at Pinnacle right now, plus 3.5 at minus 121. CMac, anything you want to make official here?
No, I think of the under. There's only 41.5 that I can see. Actually, BetMGM does have a 42. Let me think about it.
So does Pinnacle.
Okay. Let me think about it. Okay. There, real quick, I just want to add the last thing on this game. The whole thing with Nagy, they go in and win. One thing the Lions haven't quit. I know Campbell's going to his post-game interviews and crying. They just seem to keep playing pretty hard. And they're at home. I think this is their Super Bowl. Tough game for me, right now at this number.
Let's move on to the next spot on the card. 4:30 p.m. Eastern. Las Vegas Raiders 5-5, 2-2 on the road to Dallas Cowboys 7-3, 4-1 at home. AT&T Stadium, Arlington, Texas. It was funny how the public was just destroying the Bengals. And it was one of the few times where it didn't make me nervous. On Tuesday, 30% of the tickets were on the Raiders and 51% of the cash was on the Raiders last week. And I knew it, and I explained it to my mom. I was like, look, these syndicates or the bigger bets, they're just using their models. And if you're looking at purely the numbers, then the Raiders have a ton of value here. The problem is what's happening with that franchise has nothing to do with numbers. And it was just a very comfortable situation to be in. And now, now when they start coming in as a huge dog, it's a different situation. This total opened up at 50.5, juice to the over. There has been a 3-cent move to that over at 50.5, but I don't see any 51s anywhere. Vegas opened up at plus 7.5, and that was heavily juiced. It's no longer heavily juiced, and Bodog has moved it to 8. When we go over to the cash flow here, you have 65% of the tickets on Dallas and 68% of the cash on Dallas. Then you have 49% of tickets on the over and 53% of the cash on the over. Raiders 2-2 on the road, going to this Cowboys team that's 4-1 at home, AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Raiders coming off their third straight loss, ugly 32-13 setback at home to the Bengals. They've been outscored 96-43 since their bye week. They've lost 5 of 7. They did open up 3-0. That was a long time ago. Jesus, the world has changed a lot for this franchise since then. They look bad. This offense looked bad. 278 yards of offense. Derek Carr, 19-27 for 215 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He also lost a fumble. Darren Waller caught 7 passes for 116 yards. Josh Jacobs ran 9 times for 37 yards, caught 5 passes for 24 yards. Did not look good. They didn't convert on their first 6 third downs. That was 14 straight third downs they didn't convert over 2 games from 2 weeks ago in Kansas City to this past week. Denzel Perryman had 12 tackles, 2 for a loss, 2 passes defended. Pass rush had 3 sacks and 5 quarterback hits. Cornerback Kayshawn Nixon, running back Jalen Richard, and linebacker Nick Kwiatkowski were inactive last week and are questionable here. Cowboys coming off an ugly 19-9 loss at Kansas City. They put up 276 yards, were 5 of 15 on third down. Excuse me, that's a mistake by me. Dak Prescott was 28 of 43 for 216 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He fumbled twice, losing one of them. With Amari Cooper out with COVID, CeeDee Lamb suffering a concussion before halftime, Dalton Schultz led receivers with 6 catches for 53 yards. Michael Gallup was next with 5 catches for 44 yards. Cooper will miss the Thanksgiving game. CeeDee Lamb's in concussion protocol. I don't know if anybody's made it to a Thursday game when they go into concussion protocol on Sunday. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know of anyone who's made it in. You take Cooper and CeeDee Lamb out of this offense, and it's a very ordinary average offense. Tony Pollard had 7 carries for 50 yards. Zeke, 9 carries for 32 yards. He looked hurt. He tweaked some ankle injury, and he just did not look good. He was a limited participant in practice. He's listed as questionable. Michael Parsons is a beast. What a great draft. 4 tackles, 2 sacks, 3 quarterback hits, forced to fumble, can play him all over the field. Jaron Kearse had an interception. Tyron Smith missed a 3rd straight game with an ankle injury. DeMarcus Lawrence's foot didn't practice Tuesday, but that 21-day window for him to return is open. I doubt he's here. Randy Gregory's still on IR. Safety Donovan Wilson dealing with a shoulder injury, questionable. Both cornerback Nashawn Wright, hamstring, and Calvin Joseph, personal, are expected back. Are they going to make any kind of difference? We start with CMac on this one. Let's go. Raiders, Cowboys, Thanksgiving Thursday.
Those injuries to the wide receivers just make me a little bit hesitant. I want to be on the Cowboys. And this is, for me, all year I've been hesitant to do it. Then they play their worst game in Kansas City. But I think Kansas City is getting their defense. They've been looking better. And it was the ultimate flat spot. Cowboys always there, that big game. Thanksgiving, they're at home in that one. But Cooper, I don't love that. Right now, I want to take the Cowboys first half. But one thing is, they've started to play unders in there, and I think it's 4 straight. The Raiders-Bengals game, I was on the over. I talked about it last week. Jamie, I was on the Bengals as well. Field goals were really hurt there. There was just, they just couldn't finish. And the Raiders, the one drive they scored a touchdown, it was just like 3 plays like that. But they have no downfield threat. Ruggs, they have nothing. They got brought in an old Jackson. He didn't even see anything last week. They double Waller, and that leaves little dink and dunks to Renfro. They can't stretch the field at all. The Raiders, it's just killing them, The running backs haven't been able to do anything. They've been able to run the ball just okay. I'd probably give it like a C. It's not very good. This is a difficult one, and Cowboys are banged up. They've been banged up on defense, but they've been opportunistic. They've gotten a lot of picks, a lot of turnovers. You talk about Lawrence and that D-line being injured there, but I still think they can be thrown on. It's just the Raiders, I'm not really loving what they're doing. I think it's caught up to them. The Ruggs, it's like they played well, and now it's just hit a wall. And we've seen the Raiders anyways, dealing with all this shit or not. The last 5 years, they've gotten out to a few of these 4-1, 4-2 records, and then they lose 4 or 5 straight. They're screwed. They end up 8-8, 7-9. For this one, I'd look at Elliott. Another one, props. Mixon ran all over the Raiders. That defense, I thought, played pretty good to hold those field goals early on. And then they just burned out and got gashed late in the 4th quarter, Jimmy. And then that's when all the points came, kind of, in that 45 points. So, yeah, because initially I want to think, Cowboys can blow this out. This game could get over. Maybe this at 50.5 is too low, but I'm yo-yoing here, and this is the NFL, and that's why it's not easy to consistently win from week to week. But the injuries to the wide receivers are the biggest thing. Right now, I want to take the Cowboys. I want to take them early. It just seems like a flat. Raiders lose again at home. Now they go Thanksgiving, but that's my lean in this game. And I also look at the props. I don't know what it will be, the Elliott props. Both running backs for the Cowboys. I think they'll be able to run on the Raiders here all day long.
After that breakdown, and we'll see what happens when Bobano breaks it down, I think that the under is in play. I think the under is in play. If we think that this is an ordinary offense, and also Birdie saying that it looks like Tyron Smith is going to be back in, personally, I don't think DeMarcus Lawrence is going to be back in. just from what
No,
I've
I
read.
don't think so
I
either.
don't think he's going to be back in. But if Birdie thinks Tyron Smith's going to be back in, then maybe they can run the ball with ease. The Raiders are having a very difficult time putting together any offense. The Raiders are still going to show effort. That's what Bisaccia is showing us. So I think this under is in play. And I can understand everybody wanting the Cowboys. This is a different situation with the Raiders now being huge dogs with everything that's happened with them than being a pick 'em or favorites. So let's see what Bobano has to say here. Raiders, Cowboys. A great breakdown, CMac. Bobano, take it away.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack here with this game. There's no doubt about that. This, first of all, when it comes to mind, the first thing I saw in this game was it's a Dallas spot. And we have seen Dallas play good off a loss this year. They lost to Tampa on the first game of the year, bounced back, beat the Chargers. They had another loss after that just recently against Denver. What happened? They bounced back and they crushed Atlanta. We have seen this team respond after a bad game. And you see all the quotes from McCarthy and Prescott and everybody after that Kansas City. And there's not a happy team, with that performance against Kansas City. It's a Dallas spot all the way. And for the Las Vegas Raiders, you got to wonder where this team's at. And you've got to wonder if this team is just going to absolutely crash and burn the rest of the season. There's very real potential for that. This is a team that's gone from 5-2 to 5-5, and they've had to deal with a lot of emotional baggage this year. The John Gruden stuff earlier this year, the Henry Ruggs, car accident incident, which, I'm sure shook the locker room. And not only that, but him not being on the field has made that wide receiving core and that passing game look much easier to defend for opposing teams. You just don't have that same speed. You take out Hunter Renfrow. Brian Edwards is dropping ball passes left and right. You double team Darren Waller at the tight end spot. What do you have, other than that for the Raiders? If you're not going to be able to find those guys open routinely, and that's been Derek Carr's issue. He can't find them open routinely. There's not that speed receiver anymore to take the top off the defense, to make the safety commit down the field. And as a result, guess what? Derek Carr is making more mistakes now. He did it against the Giants. He did it again last week against the Browns. It's because nobody's getting open down the field for this team. And now also, that's 2 weeks in a row from what I've seen with this Raiders team in both of these recent games, especially last week against the Bengals. You got to wonder if Rich Bisaccia is the kind of coach you trust to have his team ready to go on a short week, going on the road on a Thanksgiving Thursday, because that's 2 weeks in a row. His team's had their ass kicked coming out of halftime. It doesn't look like a coaching staff that's made quality adjustments coming out of halftime. They've looked bad, both sides of the football now, 2 games in a row in the second half of these games. And, you got to point some of the finger toward Rich Bisaccia right now. Is this guy a high caliber, high quality NFL football head coach? I'm not so sure. It's nice to be on the coaching staff, but now you're the head guy. Do you have it in you to get the job done? I'm not so sure about that. And he's not a coach I trust here in this particular spot. So, yes, for me, it's Dallas or pass, you guys. I want no part of this Raiders team. I think the warning signs are there. I think the red flags are all over the place right now. This team's about to maybe crash and burn and just completely fall apart. And look, what did the Raiders do last year after a strong start? Oh, yeah, they fell apart. What did they do 2 years ago after a strong start? Oh, yeah, they fell apart in the second half of the season. We've seen evidence of this happening before to this Raiders team. So why should we expect all of a sudden maybe things to change here? I think this team is definitely, for me, they're a bet against team, plain and simple. So can I lay the points with Dallas? Jimmy mentioned it already. This is a banged-up football team. Lamb, Cooper, both of those guys are not going to play. There's no way Lamb's coming back from concussion protocol to play on a Thursday afternoon. That is just not going to happen. The good news is for the Cowboys is Tyron Smith, the left tackle. It looks like he's going to be back, and that's significant because, look, Dak Prescott was just completely annihilated by Kansas City's defensive front. Chris Jones was in his grill that entire game on Sunday, and Tyron Smith's absence on the field was a very big part of that. The defensive injuries, it's not just the offense. Jarwin, the tight end's out. You mentioned Lawrence. You mentioned Randy Gregory, another key part of that defensive front. Neville Gallimore, our fellow countryman for Jimmy and I. They're all out, for this Cowboys team. So there are a lot of injuries right now, and we cannot avoid talking about, or at least we've got to bring this up as part of the handicap, the long-term problems for the Dallas Cowboys as home favorites on Thanksgiving. 1-9 against the spread. The last 10 tries laying points at home on Thanksgiving. Ouch. So That is a tough track record. Oh, last year they got their asses kicked by Washington on Thanksgiving. 2 years ago, Buffalo went into Dallas on Thanksgiving and handed it to this Cowboys team. So at the end of the day, it's Dallas or pass. What I've done is I've put Dallas in a 2-team money line parlay with a team that we're going to talk about next, the Buffalo Bills, because I really think both those teams win, but I'm not in a rush to lay significant or at least moderate points with either one. So Dallas is part of a parlay for me, but I'm staying off laying the touchdown 7.5, which is where the market is right now.
I'm going to move on this under 50.5 when the show ends. I completely agree with you guys on the Cowboys or pass, and I think I would prefer to pass. I've always thought of Bisaccia as sort of a yes man, and that's probably not fair because I don't really know, but I've always thought he was just a guy that was well liked and wasn't like a methodical football mind who was going to take you to the next level. And so was he going to be ready on a Thursday? I don't know. I've got the Bobano moneyline parlay set here with Cowboys on the first leg. We'll hear about that second leg in a second. CMac, is there anything that you would like to make official here?
No, but I'm going to look at some of these props and I will make official. Maybe later I will text you because I'm busy doing all this. Real quick, I mean, Gallups back. I mean, Schultz. Who are they going to throw the ball to? There's not many guys. I know it's next man up
They'd
for
like
the Cowboys.
It to be Cedric Wilson, you guys, but he was dropping passes left and right against the Chiefs last week. They'd love for him to be that third option to step up, especially in light of all the injuries. But he had a rough game. He's going to have to be better here.
Yeah.
Fuck, man. Western Michigan first half, too fucking easy, baby. First half full game. Ball State. You fuck kidding me? I'm going to lose my shit here. I'm going to freak out. Let's try and stay focused, but it's hard to stay focused when I got this cash coming in. Let's get out of this one-bedroom apartment in Parkdale, baby.
I don't know how you could bet Northern Illinois tonight with the fact they clinched that MAC championship game.
But I screwed up. So last year in the bowl season, I took advantage of all of these situations, the best I've ever done in my life. And then in the CFL in the last 2 weeks, I didn't because I'm on this big winning streak in the CFL. And I was like pensive and afraid. And I was like, I'm not taking advantage. I'm not. And then today I was like, fuck this. We know two teams aren't trying. We know that. So let's get fucking paid and stop being uncomfortable because there's nothing up for grabs. Take the money when it's being offered to you.
Yep. That's a great
point.
We're with you.
And
look, everybody and their brother last week knew that Saskatchewan and Edmonton were in brutal spots in the CFL last week, and look what happened.
All right. Sorry. Let's get back to work. 8:20 p.m. Eastern. Next up, Buffalo Bills 6-4, 3-2 on the road at New Orleans Saints, 5-5, 2-2 at home. We're at Caesars Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana. We have New Orleans opening up as 4.5-point dogs. That's moved to 5.5, then to 6, and now to 6.5. And understandably so. New Orleans not looking good. They've lost 3 straight since the ACL injury, and so because of Jameis Winston, because of all that, and Buffalo looking so bad last week that there's a thought that Buffalo will bounce back, but I certainly couldn't pull the trigger. And then I wrote first half with a question mark, and I looked into it, and I was like, look, I don't want to sit here and have expectations for this Buffalo team that's now 6-4 and 3-2 on the road. If you thought the Bills' low point this season was their 9-6 loss at Jacksonville, they slid even lower in that 41-15 home loss to the Colts on Sunday. They no longer lead the AFC East. They're a half game behind New England. They've dropped 3 of 5. Josh Allen was 21-35 for 209 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Dawson Knox led receivers with 6 catches for 80 yards. Stephon Diggs caught 2 TD passes, but he only caught 4 passes overall for 23 yards. Breda led the ground game with 5 carries for 51 yards. Jonathan Taylor ran the ball down the Bills' throat. 185 yards, 5 touchdowns. They could dial up no pressure. Bills finished the game with 0 sacks and 2 quarterback hits. Defensive tackle star Lodalele and offensive tackle Spencer Brown both missed the game with COVID. Cole Beasley dealing with a rib injury, expected to play. Saints coming off an ugly 40-29 loss in Philadelphia. It was 33-7 after 3 quarters. Third straight loss since Jameis Winston went down. Saints destroyed on the ground. Both teams were just destroyed on the ground. Eagles ran for 242 yards. Saints came in with the number one run defense in the league. Nuts. Simeon, 22 of 40 for 214 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Without Kamara leading the offense, Mark Ingram stepped up with 16 carries for 88 yards. He did lose a fumble. Kamara listed as questionable. Traquan Smith caught 5 passes for 64 yards. Adam Troutman, shout out to Sharpie, who had the Adam Troutman prop. He caught 5 passes for 58 yards and a touchdown, then limps off the field in the fourth quarter. He's now going to miss 4 to 6 weeks with a sprained MCL. Davenport had 10 tackles, 1.5 sacks, and 4 quarterback hits. He's banged up. He's listed as questionable. They got 3 sacks and 8 quarterback hits. Teron Armstead and Ryan Ramczyk didn't play. They're listed as questionable. Offensive tackle Landon Young going to have season-ending foot surgery. Safety C.J. Gardner-Johnson has been placed on IR. When we go over to the cash flow here, 12,458 tickets in, 25% of the tickets, 51% of the cash on the Saints. All the market moving so fast towards the Bills, but the sharp action early is being on the Saints. 28% of the tickets, 76% of cash on the under. We go back to Bobano to get us rolling. Take it away. Our final game on Thanksgiving Thursday, Bills Saints.
So we've seen Buffalo in a spot like this just after the Jacksonville game, thoroughly disgusted with their play, and they should have been after that game against the Colts, just like they should have been after the Jacksonville loss, because there was every phase of the football game failed the Buffalo Bills. Offense was no good. Josh Allen under pressure, no run game, throwing passes into double coverage, forcing the ball, multiple turnovers. The defense could not stop the run the entire game against the Colts. Jonathan Taylor ran wild against that Bills defense the entire game. Special teams, Tyler Bass missing field goals, which is a rarity. Isaiah McKenzie fumbling a punt return or a kickoff return in that game, setting up the Colts for 1st and goal. I mean, it was everything for Buffalo, a complete debacle, all 3 phases of the game. And all the quotes, just like after the Jacksonville game, we're pissed off. We got to forget about it. We're better than this, and we'll be ready for the next game. And after that Jacksonville game, they said the same thing. What happened? They went out and they destroyed the New York Jets. Now, the Saints are better than the New York Jets, but you can make a case right now, based on the last couple weeks, since Jameis Winston suffered the season-ending injury, since Alvin Kamara has been out the last few weeks, and of course they've been without their number 1 receiver, Michael Thomas, all year. You can make a damn good case. This is a bottom 5 offense in the NFL right now. New Orleans Saints. No joke. No BS. This is a bottom 5 offense in the NFL right now. Trevor Siemian cannot play. He cannot be a number 1 quarterback in this league. We've seen it now 2 weeks in a row. Do not be fooled one bit by the final score against the Eagles on Sunday. All the points they put up were in absolute garbage time in that game. The game was over. It had 7 points, going into the fourth quarter of that game. Simeon's making mistakes. This offense is totally compromised. Running back hurt, Kamara, probably not going to play here. Ingram now banged up. And now you're going to be down maybe to your 3rd running back. Who's stepping up at receiver? Traquan Smith, Marquez Callaway are the guys you hope to rely on. They're inconsistent. Sometimes they make a big play. Sometimes they drop the ball. That's what you get. The O-line has got cluster injuries all over the place. Jimmy, you already mentioned it. The left tackle, Teron Armstead. The right tackle, Ryan Ramczyk. Both of those guys missed last week. Neither one likely to suit up. Ramczyk's definitely out. He didn't practice today. And even Armstead, very limited in practice today for the Saints. So there's a good chance they're without their 2 starting tackles again in this game against Buffalo. It's just an offense I flat out don't trust. And even the defense has suffered because of it, because they're out on the field a lot. I do think the Bills have a bounce back in them. We've seen it on display. They've shown the ability to bounce back off a loss. Now, do I love the prospect of laying 5? I'd lean Bills, but that's why I've got Buffalo in the second leg of this parlay for Thanksgiving with the Dallas Cowboys. So for me, I got it at -115 at Bet365, Dallas Cowboys and Buffalo Bills moneyline parlay. I do feel very good about both of those teams winning those games straight up. Again, I'm not a big parlay better in the NFL, Jimmy, but to me, this spot, this made sense. 2 teams that I think win the football game, even though I'm not in love with laying the points with either one, but I do think the Bills bounce back. I think the Saints are in the world of hurt, and I'm hearing Sean Payton say the same crap every week. We got to play better. We got to coach better. Heard it already a few weeks in a row, and nothing has changed for this New Orleans team. It's a bad offense, and I'm not backing a bad offense right now.
Interesting. Leonard Welch says Saints have packed it in, fellas. Sean Payton understands this is a lost season. Hard to imagine Sean Payton doing that, with the extra game. sitting at 5-5. But I hear what you're saying, Leonard. It just doesn't feel like the Sean Payton that we've watched now.
He looks exasperated, Jimmy, and we'll talk about another coach down later in the card that's also got that feeling of he's worn out, he's exasperated, and he's just, when you're not used to being at this stage of the season at 5-5, takes a toll.
Let's see what CMac has to say. This one is very difficult in my estimation. The first 2 games I felt like I had a move I wanted to make and I wanted to talk it out. Here I am very uncomfortable. CMac, take it away.
Yeah, this is interesting. The Bills just got slapped across the face, and they're not very good. They're not a consistent football team. These, we got to get our ass whipped to then come back and play well the next week. I don't know. Taylor ran all over them. The problem is, I looked at the Eagles-Saints game last week. The Eagles ran wild all over the Saints. I think they ran for like 230 or 240. Bills don't run the ball, but the Saints defense has fallen off. Initially, I think this I'm looking at this game. I don't want to go too long. We got a ton of games to get into. The line's starting to drop. Saints have gone over 4 straight. They've gone over, 6 of 7. The only under was the Seahawks. That defense is sliding. All that defense that was so good early on, I think Simeon can do enough. And now the Bills defense, where have they gone? This Bills defense that was phenomenal. Saints will be at home. They don't have many weapons. You talked about the running back injuries, Jimmy. They don't have great wideouts, and you got a backup quarterback. For some reason, if this keeps dropping this total, it's already dropped to 45.5. I'm going to pounce on the over. I think the Bills come out firing. I think the Saints can score on this Bills defense. If it keeps getting lower and lower, maybe to 44, it's 45.5. It's dropped already a couple points. I'm going to take the over. I don't trust the Saints defense. I don't know where it's gone. The Bills defense, obviously there's going to be emphasis on the defense from both these squads, in practice, but 3 days, short here, Thursday night. I'm looking at the over. I lean the Bills. I'm not going to lay this on the road. This got me burned too much in the NFL betting over the years. There's just no way. I can lean that way, but I'm not going to put my own money on it. I think the Bills win the game. Whether they cover, I don't know. But as this total keeps dropping, I'm going to look to go on the other way and take the over in 2 defenses that I think are shaky right now and aren't very good.
I'll make a case for the Bills defense. Give them a break for last week. You're playing a balanced offense. Carson Wentz has played better in the recent weeks. Jonathan Taylor's playing like one of the best running backs in the NFL, and he's running behind an elite offensive line. In this game, you've got the Saints, bad offensive line, injury-riddled offensive line, no running backs left standing, bad quarterback play. Totally different type of opponent here, I think, for this Bills defense. Wouldn't surprise me to see the Bills defense get right.
We'll see. On the road, hostile place.
We'll see. It is a lower total, though, mid-40s. I hear you.
That's why I love that it's dropped, and that's why it's intriguing me.
And the Bills have the Patriots on deck for the biggest game of their season.
Yes.
I find it. I could understand taking the Bills first half -3, but is this a Bills get right spot offensively in the Superdome when Allen's going to have to make all these changes at the line of scrimmage? God,
I don't know. That Saints defense seems a little different, though, to me. Watching them, I watched them these last 3 or 4 weeks. They look bad. They do not look like the team from early on in the year.
Birdie says this is Saints or no play, and I tend to agree.
Me too.
I tend to agree, if this gets too high, I'll have to bet the Saints. In fact, I'll just have to.
Yeah, if this gets over 7, I agree a little bit. If I get 7 in the hook,
the line movement in this game is kind of reminding me of New England, Atlanta last week. Everybody was betting New England, and I was a little scared. I'm like, wait a minute, everybody and their brother loves New England here, and they kept betting that thing up, and I stayed off it because I was a little worried. I know I didn't want Atlanta, but it got me concerned about laying the points with New England, and sure enough, they still won and covered. And not saying the Bills will for sure, but the line movement is eerily similar to that game, and it's a Thursday night. Wouldn't you know it?
Real quick, Bobano, 2 teams, though, moving different. That Pats team on the rise, Mac Jones playing well, the defense playing unbelievable, and this Bills team kind of on the slide, going downhill. Just the way to look at it.
Yeah, they're only 3-5 or 2-3 in their last 5 games. The Bills, you're right. They're not.
Do you guys think Do you guys think that there's a chance that we could see some Taysom Hill or Guy Zizou here? Just mentioned the extension they gave him, a weird extension, some hybrid shit. Maybe we see him today. Who
He
knows?
didn't practice today, Zizou,
He's
and
still
still
hurt.
battling that foot injury as well.
Yeah,
so
he's
it's
still
looking
hurt, so-
doubtful you're going to see him.
I'll straight up say no. I don't think we see any Taysom Hill. He's still hurt. Everything I'm reading, he's still hurt. Has enough time to go sign $94 million contracts. That's about it. All right, those are our 3 Thanksgiving Day games. We have a Bobano moneyline parlay, Cowboys, Bills. He's also moved on as an official pick here, plus 3.5, minus 121 on the Lions. I'm going to move on the Bears at -3 and the under. And I'm also going to move on the under 50.5 in Raiders, Cowboys, and I haven't figured out what to do yet with this Saints game, and I have a little bit more time. For CMac, there's going to be player props coming in, but nothing official here, side total-wise.
No, in this game, that total, I'm going to wait. I think it keeps going down a little bit. Why? And then on the side, why touch it either if this gets oversent? By the way, Jimmy, I know you have, but I see 51s, in this Raider, a few spots like Caesar, some of these books. Points bet. I'm just saying.
Wow.
There's a few 51s out there.
I see some 51s on a couple offshores that are dicey.
Okay.
But on the main ones.
Yeah.
But you're right. Pinnacle has that 50.5 juiced, so there's no reason why 51 wouldn't show up. So very, very wonderful. Love capping with you guys. Those are the Thursday night Thanksgiving Day games. We move on to Sunday. Let's get right to work here. November 28th. We start 1 p.m. Eastern. Pittsburgh Steelers 5-4-1, 2-2 on the road at Cincinnati Bengals, 6-4, 2-2 at home. We're at Paul Brown Stadium, Cincinnati, Ohio. 42 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 10 miles per hour. Nice to see Tues joining us. Our guy, Tues. Love it. All right, here we go in Steelers Bengals. We have the Bengals opening up at -3.5. At Pinnacle, that's moved 10 cents from -105 to -115. Other books have moved it to 4, and some books have moved it to 4.5. This total opened up at 45, and there is one book that I see that's showing a 45.5. When we move over to the cash flow in this Roethlisberger-Burrow matchup, there's 3,127 tickets in. 42% of the tickets, 48% of the cash are on the Bengals. Interesting that the Steelers would still be a public bet here. Surprising. Now, there's only 3,000 tickets in, so let's not draw too much to that. Then we see 74% of tickets on the over. We don't have the cash flow yet. Steelers coming off a wild 41-37 loss at the Chargers. With all the injuries, I moved on the over and the Chargers team total over, and God, it was just too easy. No TJ Watt, no Minkah Fitzpatrick, no Joe Hayden. The Steelers couldn't get any stops. The Chargers got 533 yards of offense. That's the 8th most the Steelers have allowed in the game in franchise history. Now, at this point, Minkah Fitzpatrick and TJ Watt are expected back. Joe Hayden is questionable, but Minkah and TJ expected back. Big Ben went 28 for 44 for 273 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Deontay Johnson caught 7 passes for 101 yards and a touchdown. Chase Claypool caught 5 passes for 93 yards. Najee Harris couldn't get going, 12 carries for 39 yards, 5 catches for 20 yards. They couldn't get pressure on Herbert. They sacked him twice. They hit him 5 times. There was Alex Highsmith doing almost all of the damage, 1.5 sacks, 3 quarterback hits for him. Cameron Sutton had 10 tackles, 1 for a loss, and an interception. Tight end Eric Ebron suffered a knee injury. He's listed as doubtful. Offensive lineman J.C. Hassenauer injured his pectoral. We're still waiting on that reevaluation at this point. Ray McLeod was placed on reserve COVID list. Wide receiver, kick returner, and useful. And Isaiah Loudermilk inactive last week, questionable this week. Bengals coming off a dominating 32-13 win at Las Vegas, fresh off their bye week. Joe Burrow was just 20 of 29 for 148 yards, 1 touchdown, no interception, lost a fumble, but he was very professional. Tyler Boyd was his number 1 target, 6 catches for 49 yards. Jamar Chase continued to have a quiet games statistically, but he did catch a touchdown pass, 3 catches, 32 yards, leads all rookies with 8 touchdown passes. Evan McPherson looks like when I watched Evan McPherson go kick a ball, I expect him to cash it. I expect him to get through the uprights. I think he's going to become a top kicker in the league if he's not already. Joe Mixon had 30 carries for 123 yards, 2 touchdowns. As Cincinnati's defense limited the Raiders to 278 yards. That's just the second time the Bengals held an opponent to fewer than 300 yards a game. You have to decide as a capper whether you think the Bengals defense is improving or were they just healthy and going up against a terrible offense in the Raiders. Eli Apple had an interception. Team had 2 sacks, 5 quarterback hits. They stopped the Raiders on their first 6 third downs. Defensive tackle Tyler Shelvin and wide receiver Auden Tate were both inactive. CMac, we start with you. Steelers, Bengals, take it away.
Yeah, this one's a Bengals team that I really, really like. But all year, the Steelers, at this price, I've loved to take. You know, I took it last week. It was 6. They covered against the Chargers where they had to come all the way back, obviously, in a shootout. I wanted to ask you real quick, what can you get the Bengals team total at right now, Jimmy? Real quick.
Let me shop at a couple books because
first I'll keep going.
Bet365 is never going to give you a good one. So I'll start with Bet365, but they want to sneak in through the window and take your wallet. The team total right now for the Bengals is at 25.5 at Bet365. But I'll keep shopping.
Yeah.
That's minus 115 on either side.
This is what I kind of wanted to lean on. To me, I don't want to lay 4.5 with the Bengals. I thought their defense coming off the bye played well, but a Raiders team that's not very good right now. You know, we already went through that. They're not going downfield. But before the bye, this Bengals defense was starting to get gashed. Maybe they needed the week off. You saw the Steelers last week, but you talked about Watt and them being back. I think it helps them out. But the Steelers defense hasn't been, nothing really good all year. That defense is not, steel curtain or anything like that. Shit. I thought the total was, yeah.
C-Mac, let me interrupt you because this is wild. Just for everyone to know how Bet365 is so rich. They're at 25.5 either side, minus 115. The team total at Pinnacle, the over 24.5 is at plus 101. So you get a plus line 24.5, and the unders at minus 117. So that's a much, much, much better line if you're looking for the over. And I apologize for interrupting. Take it away.
No, thanks. Because the Bengals, what I saw early on, they played a lot of unders. I think it's 5 of their first 6 of their first 7. And then that defense, Ravens ripped them, the Jets, the Browns. I see them scoring points here. I know that first meeting, that's when that was their slew of unders early on. Both defenses were playing well, and they're not right now. And they beat the Steelers at Pittsburgh 24-10. I don't love the Steelers team. The problem is I don't want to lay 4.5 with the Bengals here. This is one that needs to be 3 or lower, even though I love Joe Burrow and this team. So for me, I look at the full game over, or I want this Bengals team total over. I think they can score on Pittsburgh. I'm not impressed by this defense. I know it's a little recency, but this defense was giving up points before last week to the Chargers, period. Now they're going to have to go on the road, and you expect them to play well. I know Watt was out last week. I still like their team total a little bit, and I'm looking at this game over here. And that's it.
Interesting breakdown. Wow. And by the way, it's 3.5 still at Pinnacle. 3.5 still at Pinnacle. And Bengals 3.5 is only minus 115. God, it's the best book available. Bobano, take it away. Steelers, Bengals.
Yeah, I'm probably going to lock it in and make it official over the total in this game at 45. I understand we could get TJ Watt back and we could get Minkah Fitzpatrick back on this Steeler defense. But, man, that defense without those guys against the Chargers, it was hideous. I mean, the breakdowns left and right down the field. Receivers basically left wide open, uncovered. I mean, some of them just dreadful. How do you leave Mike Williams all alone there in the final 2 minutes of that fourth quarter? Well, that's going to happen when you have no pass rush. Oh, yeah, TJ Watt being out hurts that. Oh, that's going to happen when one of your best players in the secondary, actually he is your best player, Minkah Fitzpatrick's out. It was just an absolute mess for the Steelers on defense against a very, very dangerous Chargers offense. If you're going to have those kind of mistakes and you're going to have these kind of key injuries on that side of the football against Joe Burrow, we've seen this offense be good enough to capitalize. They've got balance. Mixon's been running the ball lately. It's going to be tougher against Pittsburgh's run defense. Cameron Hayward had a hell of a game. We got to give him some credit. What a game he had against the Chargers. Did everything he could for that defense to try to help them to that victory. But we'll see if they get Watt and Fitzpatrick back. Even if they do have one or both of them back, I think at home you're going to see Burrow in this offense be able to move the ball enough in this game. I still like that receiving core that the Bengals have to work with, too. When you look at Jamar Chase, you look at T. Higgins. Now, they do have Tyler Boyd questionable for this game, the third receiver. He left the game against Las Vegas in the fourth quarter. He was limping a little bit, but it's definitely not something that looks overly serious. So I think there's a decent chance you'll see Boyd on Sunday for the Bengals. On the other side of the equation, look, you can say that it was a Chargers defense that the more you watch them, the more you're unimpressed, or at least the more I'm unimpressed when I see the Chargers defense. But look, Ben Roethlisberger made some plays throwing the football. He did everything he could to try to keep that team in the game. Good completion percentage, no mistakes. And in a game where, to be honest with you, they didn't really run the football well with Najee Harris. Most of the offense came through the air, but, it was one of Ben's better games throwing the ball to Johnson, Claypool, Eric Ebron, the tight end, all made plays down the field in the passing game. I think they're going to be able to move the ball a little bit here against the Cincinnati Bengals defense. Let's not forget the Raiders offense has not been the same since Ruggs' incident because there's just not as much that you have to defend in that receiving core. So I think the Bengals, or the Steelers rather, can move the ball. And while the Pittsburgh defense, they might be healthier, they might get Watt and Fitzpatrick back, which is obviously going to help. Look at this schedule of offenses and quarterbacks lately prior to the Chargers game that Pittsburgh played. Jared Goff and the Lions in a rainstorm that day. Chicago, and even Chicago got 27 points in that game.
Yeah.
Cleveland, Baker Mayfield with an O-line that day that was ravaged by injuries, and Baker Mayfield's not played well lately. They played Geno Smith and the Seahawks. They played Denver with Bridgewater, and that offense has been hit or miss. Like, they have faced a very, very unimpressive, weak slate of opposing offenses, opposing quarterbacks. I think Pittsburgh's defense gets challenged here by this Bengals team. I know the first game was an under, but I like these divisional rematch situations where the one game maybe stays under. I think the second game often you see a little bit of a role reversal, and vice versa. You could see the first game go over, maybe the second game stay under. I think we'll see enough points here. I like over 45, and I'll make that official.
Over 45 minus 110 official. I have a vividness bias of these two teams playing, knock them down, drag them out, defensive football, and that's clearly affecting my first instincts when I look at this game. But I'll have to dive deeper. CMac, do you want the the Bengals team total or the full game over? What are you thinking?
I'll let you know by the end, because that always gets me too, Jimmy. I have the bias of these teams playing smash mouth under, but something just leads me. This Bengal team scores, and I think even the Steelers. You never know from week to week in the NFL. I mean, Steelers give up 41, and they could give up 16. So, but I'm leaning the team total and even the over. I'll let you know.
Okay, so let's move forward. Next up for us, 1 p.m. Eastern, Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Indianapolis Colts, 6-5, 3-3 at home. Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, Indiana. Shout out to our very own diehard MMA podcast, Clint. He was all over the Colts, and it was a very easy victory for him. Now, we were waiting. I was sitting here waiting. I was thinking, after Tampa Bay's display against the Giants, when will this move to 3? It is now moved to 3. So it opened Tampa Bay minus 2.5, minus 107. Pinnacle has that minus 2.5 and minus 129. So a 22-cent move there. I've never really seen them with a minus 129. So the 3s are on the board now. This total opened up at 51. Pinnacle's already moved it to 52. Let's move over to the cash side of things. Now, look, sometimes things simplify, and I still want to make it complicated. It's just, God, I don't understand. There's a very simple thing going on with these Buccaneers where they're cashing easily at home and they're losing and not covering on the road. Will that continue here? 3,341 tickets in. 65% of the tickets are on the Buccaneers and 86% of the cash. Sharps are all over the Buccaneers here on the road. 65% of tickets on the over. Let's move over to the game. Buccaneers are on a short week after snapping their two-game losing streak with an easy 30-10 win at home over the Giants on Monday night. Brady avoided dropping 3 in a row for the first time since 2002. Brady 30 of 46, 307 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Wasn't sacked. Leads the NFL with 29 touchdown passes, second in yards passing at 3,172. Mike Evans caught 6 passes for 73 yards and a touchdown. Evans set a franchise record with a 72nd touchdown passing on Mike Allstott. Gronkowski was back in the lineup after missing 5 of 6, caught 6 passes for 71 yards, was targeted 8 times. Godwin caught 6 passes for 65 yards and a touchdown. Leonard Fournette ran 10 times for 35 yards, caught 6 passes for 39 yards. Their defense caused problems for the Giants all night. 2 sacks, 9 quarterback hits. Mike Edwards, Steve McClendon each had interceptions. McClendon's first pick of his 12-year career. Left guard Ali Marpet left in the second quarter with no oblique strain. He's listed as questionable. Antonio Brown inactive. Vita Vea, I thought might be gone for a long time. Not the case. Bruce Arians expects him to be in the lineup Sunday against the Colts. These Colts are rolling. Coming off 41-15 win at Buffalo, 5th win in 6 games. They're back into the AFC playoff picture. Jonathan Taylor had 5 touchdowns, ran for 185 yards, 1,122 yards rushing this season. Rolling. 14 touchdowns, leads the league 2 ahead of James Conor. Topped 100 yards from scrimmage and scored a touchdown for the 8th consecutive game. That matches the NFL record set by Liddell Mitchell and matched by LaDainian Tomlinson. Carson Wentz stayed out of trouble, going 11 for 20 for 106 yards, 1 touchdown. Jack Doyle was the leading receiver with just 3 catches for 30 yards, but why mess with what was working? They got just 1 sack and 3 quarterback hits, but they did pick off Josh Allen twice and Trubisky once. Colts extended their run of games with a takeaway to 12. Guard Quentin Nelson aggravated his right ankle injury. He's listed as day-to-day, but this is a pretty healthy squad that seems to be rolling. Bobano, huge marquee game. Buccaneers, Colts, take it away.
So the Indianapolis Colts, in their last 8 games, their 2 losses were in overtime. That's how close they are to an 8-game win streak right now, to Baltimore and to Tennessee. So it's been an impressive run for this Indianapolis Colts team right now. And you mentioned Vita Vea. I think Vita Vea is enormous in towards his impact and whether he's on the field for this game, towards how this game transpires. Because Jonathan Taylor and this run game keeps getting better. This is no joke, this Colts offensive line. I talked about it earlier. This is one of the best offensive lines in the NFL, the Indianapolis Colts. There's no doubt. And they've got to have Vita Vea here if you can at least, and it sounds like he will play, but that's the anchor of that defensive line. He's by far the best run stopper that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have. He's a difference maker with that run defense of Tampa Bay. So we'll see if he is indeed going to suit up. If that is, that's big, because if he's in there and they can even just a little bit keep Jonathan Taylor under wraps, and then Carson Wentz, who we know when he faces pressure, and he's going to see some here with Sue and some of these defensive edge rushers that the Buccaneers can throw at him. If that run game's not going to be as effective with Vea playing, that's when he makes those mistakes, Carson Wentz. So it's very fascinating here. It's a tough one for me. This is my first game where I really have a tough time early in the week coming up with a side here, because I don't know if I want to step in front of the Colts, but they're everybody's favorite team now after what they did to the Bills and the way they've played the last few weeks. Everybody's hyping them up. Everybody's singing the praises of the Indianapolis Colts now after destroying Buffalo last week, and I'm not 100% sure this is a value buy low spot, if you know what I'm saying right here with the Indianapolis Colts in this game. And if Vea plays for the Buccaneers, I guarantee you they'll have better run defense against Jonathan Taylor than the Buffalo Bills showed, on Sunday. So that's definitely something that concerns me here. But what concerns me for taking Tampa Bay here is, Jimmy, you mentioned it, the futility on the road. It can't be ignored. The way this team has looked so drastically different away from Tampa Bay this year. And there's no sugarcoating it. 2-3 straight up, 0-5 against the spread, straight up losses on the road to a Saints team that really hasn't been the same. That was the game, of course, Winston got injured. Simeon actually came in, finished the game, and led them to a victory. The Washington lost by 10 off a bye week. They lost to the Rams decisively. They barely beat the New England Patriots. That was the one straight up road win this year for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So this has not been a team that I really trust here to lay points on the road. So it's a hard game for me early in the week. I would probably lean over the total if we get no Vea, because I think if the run game is able to work for the Colts, that's going to just open up everything. in this game for their offense, and Wentz needs Taylor to be able to run the ball to have that offense be at its absolute best. So if there's no Vea, I probably may look at the over, but as of right now, from a side perspective, it's a tough one, and I'm staying off for now.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Birdie thinks it's a buy low spot on the Bucs. Says Gronk being back is huge, just like Kittle. Gronk makes a huge difference for the Bucs. CMac, wildly interesting game. Take it away.
Yeah, it is. I believe it's a little bit of a buy low here with the Bucs as well. Just them on the road has been insane. You got to think Tom Brady's been hearing this shit about how, them on the road, now they've won some games. They can't, they haven't covered. Talk about the Saints game. But for the big part, it's 3. Usually when they go into that Saints game was 4, but it always seems like they're laying a big number on the road. This is short. One thing with the Colts, they've had their way. That offensive line's been together for years. It's finally really working, and then you're just doing great. Taylor's just running like crazy. One thing is they played a few banged up teams. They lost the Colts. They beat the Niners. All I know is they've scored almost 30 points every game except the Jags game. They've gone over the total for their last 5. I think the Bucs will be able to move the ball against the Colts here. My initial lead a little bit is on the over as well. I think the Colts will move it here. Man, it's just 3. It's difficult. Do these Colts just keep rolling? Are they that hot right now? Taylor, Wentz just needs to be solid, not screw up. You know what I mean? Make his plays when he has to downfield. Don't throw any picks. This Bucs team's a bit opposite of last year. They were good on the road. I mean, that big game against Green Bay to get to the Super Bowl. I know they've won a few, but they haven't covered. Now at 3, it seems low to me. It's very difficult. This is one I lean over, and I have nothing on the side. I haven't played it either. I wanted more points even now with the Colts. Even how well they're playing and the Bucs, I wanted more points here to really pull the trigger. I needed over 3 for sure, to back the Colts here.
We all remember what happened this time of year last year with these Buccaneers. And they went on a roll and they took care of business. And I think, everybody's remembering that. And
yes.
So
it's hard to not remember early on too, though, right, Jimmy? It's a little bit. That's why it's very difficult. You remember these playing bad on the road, but you think of last year, such a low number here for the Bucs. I just can't run out and bet them though, right here. Not the way the Colts have been playing.
One thing that bothers me if I'm the Colts, I want to throw this out. They have no depth in the secondary, none, 0. And when you look at that secondary, I'm not a big Rock Ya-Sin guy. I think that guy, you can beat him, especially if you've got multiple weapons that can beat you. And that's the one thing that the Bucs have. They got more than just one guy they can rely on. They've got Evans. They've got Godwin. Wait till they get Antonio Brown back. Gronk's going to be there for this game. And there's a lot of different options for Brady to go to against a secondary that doesn't have depth. Top 2 safeties are injured right now and may not play in this game as well for the Indianapolis Colts. That's definitely a concern for me. And that's kind of why my first thought was over, because I think Tampa can throw on Indy, and I think Indy can run on Taylor, especially if Vea doesn't play. Vea is the key. Vea is that good against the run, and the Tampa run defense is noticeably weaker without him against the run. Now, it was good against the Giants and Barkley on Monday night, but I don't think Barkley was 100%. That's number 1. And number 2, if you're going to compare the Giants' offensive line to the Colts' offensive line, you might as well leave the show right now because you can't compare those 2 offensive lines. The Giants are a bottom 5 O-line. The Colts are a top 5 O-line. So it's going to be much more difficult, I think, to key in on that run game for the Bucs defense, especially if no Vita Vea on the field.
It's an absolutely fascinating situation. Just felt like when the Buccaneers were not, when they lost those 2 games back to back, that there was just no concern whatsoever with Brady. He knows what his team can do, and he knows when he wants to be right, and it's not in mid-November. Yep. In saying
fascinating game. But you know what bothers me, Jimmy, about the Colts now? Last week was the spot for the Colts to back them. Plus 7.5, playoff revenge against Buffalo. A healthy amount of points, a fired-up team, a good matchup against the Bills. And now everybody saw that game, and everybody's saying, wow, look at the Colts. Look at it now. Hyping them up and getting excited about them. It just feels like flavor of the week. You know what I mean for the Colts? And sometimes the flavor of the week is not a good bet going into the next game.
Nothing official for any of us at this point?
Nothing official as of right now. Just over.
I do have to say, if you like the over a bit, I mean, I take the 51.5, the key number of 52 a little bit, especially in the NFL, because once you start getting the 50s in the NFL, I don't always love it. But I think the Bucs will move it. With all those weapons, I think the Colts will be able to move it too in this ballgame. It just can it get over 51.5? Can it get there?
And there's Clint saying nobody's fading the Bucs and Brady. No fear. Bet the Colts. After Clint cashed so easily with the Colts last week. We move on to 1 p.m. Eastern. I was going to make this bet today, and all the money was on the other side. All the sharp action was on the other side. So I was like, what? I'll just sit back and, I guess take a second look at this, but also expect to get better number. And it's Carolina Panthers 5-6, 3-2 on the road at Miami Dolphins 4-7, 2-3 at home. I should have faded Cam Newton because I don't believe in him. I should have faded him last week. And, I don't see how I won't fade him here. The problem is, at this point, all of the sharp money is backing him. Carolina opens up at -1. There's been a 1 cent move towards Miami, just a 1 cent move. But when I come over to the cash, it's all Carolina cash. 69% of the tickets are on the Panthers. Now, there's only 3,000 tickets in, 3,064. 69% of the tickets, 81% of the cash is on the Panthers. Then 57% of the tickets, 68% of the cash is on the under. We're at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens, Florida, 74 Fahrenheit, mostly sunny, 6 miles per hour. Carolina comes in off a 27-21 loss at home to Washington after starting 2-0. They've lost 4 straight now at Bank of America. Newton was 21-27 for 189 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He also ran the ball 10 times for 46 yards. So, look, I get that they like him better than PJ, but I don't understand why. I think that people just have this vividness. The people who are supporting him have this vividness love affair with him that I just don't have and never have had. What are we talking, the 2015 MVP? It's a long time ago. McCaffrey caught 7 passes for 60 yards and a touchdown, ran 10 times for 59 yards. Shout out to Sharpie for cashing that. Player prop, it was 115.5 and got to 119. DJ Moore caught 5 passes for 50 yards and a touchdown. Jeremy Chin had 13 tackles. He hasn't been as prevalent as I expected him to be this year. They got 3 sacks, 6 quarterback hits, and left tackle Dennis Daly left in the first quarter, did not return with a glute injury. He's listed as questionable. Dolphins came in off their 3rd straight victory, an easy 24-17 win at the Jets. I really like Brian Flores, and I think that affects me supporting the Dolphins too often. And I didn't back them, although I backed Flores. I took the Jets team total under, and I took the full game under, and those both cashed. So it was sort of like backing him. Tua Tagovailoa was 27-33 for 273 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. Mac Hollins caught 2 passes for 72 yards and 1 touchdown. Jalen Waddle caught 8 passes for 65 yards. Gesicki caught 5 for 50. Myles Gaskin ran 23 times for 89 yards. That hasn't happened all year. I'm not going to sit here and expect it to happen again against a better defense than the Panthers. But when they can run the ball, they're going to put up points, and they're never usually able to run the ball. The defense had 2 sacks, 8 quarterback hits. Linebacker Brendan Scarlett went out with a knee injury in the second quarter. He's been placed on IR. Safety Brandon Jones left him with an elbow injury. He's listed as questionable. Cornerback Jamal Perry was carted to the sideline with an injured right knee. It's bad. He's on IR. And Flores said he's unsure if either wide receiver Will Fuller or Devontae Parker will be designated to return off IR this week, which makes me think that neither will. CMac, I want the Dolphins here, but clearly no rush. I could have got them today at plus 105 on the money line, and right now they are, I believe, still at plus 105 or plus 1 or minus 105. So nothing's changed there, but all this money's on the Panthers. Yeah. Can you create some clarity for me, C-Mac?
I think some people like the Panthers. One thing with the Panthers, they've been Jekyll and Hyde. They seem to play a little bit better on the road. Some NFL teams just are like that. Last week, though, we got to get to that quick. There's no way. I thought Washington, I love that game. I loved them getting 3 in the hook. I took it money line as well. I do not. Cam Newton, I'm sorry. He should not be a regular quarterback starting, and it'll show throughout the game. Walker should be in, and he should come in and get his certain plays. And he should not be. I thought that was a huge mistake. As soon as I saw that, I was all over the football team. there. I think the Panthers had that big win in Arizona. He came back. Dolphins defense is starting to play better. I know they played the Jets last week. They gave up 17. There were some missed field goals on both sides. It was sloppy, but I loved what I saw Thursday night with the Ravens. Time before that, Texans looked really good. They had a bunch of picks. Tyrod Taylor just coming back off injury, but 4 straight unders for them. They lost to the Bills 26-11. The total is low, 42.5. I'm not on it. I do want to look at the team totals here in this game a little bit. I'm with you a tad bit here, Jimmy. I'm with the Dolphins at home. I don't love it. At this point, you could take the 1.5 for them money line, but I'm not backing the Panthers. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, great job. I should have been. There were so many. I went 7-5. I went 7-3 on Sunday, but lost on Thursday night. I lost Monday night. But when I was looking back, it was just glaring mistakes that I should have been on. It should have been a giant week for me. Birdie's already on the under 42.5. That's starting to look like a really smart spot here that I think I'm going to jump in. Bobano, take it away.
It's interesting because I was on over the total last week with Carolina, Washington. It got there. And I thought with Cam Newton back, look, Cam Newton's got his flaws. He's not Cam Newton of 5-10 years ago, and he's a borderline fringe, if that, starting quarterback in this league. That being said, he's still probably better than Sam Darnold, at least earlier in the year from what we've seen. So I thought maybe a little jump for the Carolina offense, but I watched that game, and after a great first drive where they went down the field, scored a touchdown, crowd was revved up, Cam Newton was fired up. They didn't do much the rest of the game, that Carolina offense. And that offensive line was without 2 starters. Again, we're talking about another team here, and get used to NFL in late November. That's what you get, cluster injuries in a position group. And right now we've got them with the Carolina offensive line. And they had trouble blocking. Even Christian McCaffrey had a so-so game running the ball because the run blocking wasn't great. The pass protection wasn't great either for Cam Newton. And Washington, even without Chase Young, keep in mind Chase Young didn't play last week. That pass rush of the Washington football team still got home multiple times on Cam Newton in that game. Now, the problem for Miami is they don't generate much of a pass rush. They haven't done that all year, the Miami Dolphins. So that's why this is such a tricky handicap for me. What gives? Miami defensive line that doesn't get pressure, or a Carolina offensive line that often yields pressure to their quarterbacks? Something's got to give there, and I'm not sure who's going to win that matchup. So my theory of Carolina overs, I might put it on the back burner for this week because, if their O-line doesn't play any better this week, I'm not convinced they're going to put up enough points to help that game go over. On the other side of the fence, I don't know with Tua right now what we're going to get because strength of Carolina's defense is up front. They've got Gross Matos there. They got Brian Burns. They've got 2 really good defensive players up front that can get after it. And that's been the one problem with Miami all season long is that Tua has been under pressure. Tua has been under duress. He hasn't been able to set his feet. At the times when he's been under pressure, he's often made a mistake or two with the football. So I thought I'd be rolling with Carolina overs, but I didn't expect that O-line to be as decimated as they were last week against Washington. And now I still cash the over. In spite of that, I'll take it. I'm not giving the money back. But now it's probably going to make me pause a little bit before going back to the well with Carolina over the total here in this one. It's one of those games where if this line stays in the range it's at right now from a side perspective, I will not be on this side. It's one of those games where if Carolina was the dog, I probably would have looked at their side. And if Miami gets to +3, I might look at the Dolphins. But right now, this is a game with no involvement for me.
Real quick, Jimmy, Birdie Panthers D is legit. I think they are. I like these under, and I'm going to look at the team total unders maybe. The Dolphins defense has gotten better. I mean, like I said, against Tyrod Taylor, did you watch that game against Lamar Jackson? That they've gotten better against a quarterback like that, and Cam Newton isn't on their levels. It's interesting. This is 3 straight home games for the Dolphins. This is where they went. Real quick, I think this is where they win a few games here, and this team gets back to they'll end up. I know they play 17 now, but 8 and 9 or something like that. They've won 3 straight. I think they can win a few more. They're at home, so I'm with the Dolphins here a little bit.
Yeah, my question about that Thursday night game was, Miami's defense did play well. Was that their defense just overwhelming Baltimore at the point of attack in the trenches, or was that Baltimore in the ultimate flat spot after, what was it, a come-from-behind overtime win, going on the road short week? That's the one, and
Yeah,
that was
that
the
too.
ultimate. Yeah.
It was the ultimate flat spot, but Baltimore's been laying some eggs everywhere. They've been getting some wins, a lot of places by a field goal, it seems like, all year long. That's all I see from, and I love both defenses. So it's just not a lot of wiggle room. And it's burned me a little bit when I took in some of these low totals around 43. But that'd be my only look here.
Well, it's good. I'm going to bet it. I'm going to bet the under.
Okay.
I just don't know if I'm going to pull the trigger on the Dolphins at this point. And I think I might wait because either, two things happen. One, I get a better number, or two, I gain more confidence when this becomes a pick'em. So I don't know if there's even a real, obviously you'll make a lot more money on it, but with $200 bets, the money is what, make 15 or 20 more bucks. I'm either going to have more confidence or get a better number. So I'm not concerned on moving on the Dolphins side tonight, although I may, but the under is going to be on my card. Let's roll on. If any of you guys are making anything official just for my record keeping, please let me know. But this won't be like a pub hub record keeping thing or anything. It's just so I can celebrate if you guys have a big day or not. That's the only reason why I'll use it. Next up, 1 p.m. Eastern, Tennessee Titans 8-3, 4-1 on the road at New England Patriots 7-4, 2-4 at home. We're at Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, Massachusetts. 39 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 8 miles per hour. Elliot V, my man, thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with us. And also Viper, my guy Viper, it's his birthday today.
Oh yeah,
in Columbia. So shout out to Vipe, who always has our
happy
back.
birthday.
Elliot V, enjoy your evening and thanks for rolling
Happy
with
birthday,
us.
Viper, and thank you for the kind words, Elliot. I saw those regarding me, so thank you very much. Not necessary, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, Elliot's a great guy. And great capper. Great to roll with. Let's go. Titans, Patriots next up here. Patriots open up as 5.5-point favorites. It quickly moves to 6 and then to 6.5. This total sitting pretty firmly at 44.5. When we go over to the cash flow here, we have 4,009 tickets in. 33% of the tickets are on the Tennessee Titans, but 58% of the cash. Clearly, the sharp money and the big bets are on the Titans. Market moving towards the Patriots is something for us all to decipher. 38% of the tickets, 36% of the tickets on the under and 74% of the cash. So we have at this point we see sharp action on the Titans, sharp action on the under. The AFC leading Titans coming off an embarrassing 22-13 loss at home to the Texans that snapped their 6-game winning streak. They outgained Houston 420-190. Tannehill was 35-52 for 323 yards, a touchdown, and 4 picks. Nick Westbrook-Ikhine had 7 catches for 107 yards. A.J. Brown had 5 catches for 48 yards and is banged up. Suffered a chest injury. X-rays have come back negative, but he is listed as questionable. AP led the ground game with 9 carries for 40 yards. The Titans were unable to dial up any pressure. They finished with 0 sacks, 1 quarterback hit. The Titans were without a sack for the first time since Week 15 of the 2020 season. They came in with 27 sacks. Bud Dupree on the injured reserve before the game. The Titans put him on the injured reserve, and Jack Rabbit Jenkins was a game-time scratch with a chest injury. Marcus Johnson, who had 100-yard receiving game last week, was ruled out after hurting his right hamstring late in the first quarter. He's listed as questionable this week. Cornerback Chris Jackson hurt a foot. He's listed as questionable. Linebacker Joe Jones on the COVID list. Tight end Jeff Swaim. Linebacker David Long. Cornerback Greg Mabin, I believe it's Greg Mabin. Sorry, I think that's just a autocorrect mistake. Running back Jeremy McNichols, cornerback Janoris Jenkins, guard Nate Davis, and linebacker Rashawn Evans, all inactive last week, all listed as questionable this week. This is a banged up Titans team. Patriots are becoming a juggernaut in front of our very eyes, coming off extra rest, extra prep, their 5th straight win, easy 25-0 road victory over the Falcons on Thursday night. New England has its longest winning streak since they opened that 2019 season 8-0, Brady's last year. Mac Jones was 22-26 for 207 yards, a touchdown and a pick. Kendrick Bourne led receivers with 4 catches for 42 yards. Nelson Aguilar caught 5 for 40 and a touchdown. Ramondre Stevenson kept rolling, 12 carries for 69 yards. Damian Harris ran 10 times for 56 yards. That's a nice looking 1-2 punch over there. The defense looked excellent. 4 quarterback sacks, 12 quarterback hits, 4 interceptions. Kyle Van Noy, 8 tackles, 2 sacks, returned an interception for 35 yards for a TD. Matt Judon now is 10.5 sacks on the year. New England has allowed 13 points in its last 3 games. Bobano very, very interesting spot where we could possibly take advantage of everything that was seen last week, or is what we've been seeing recently reality? Take it away.
Yeah, I mean, at what point do we get a little carried away with all the move toward New England in this game? I understand they're playing outstanding football right now. They've turned it on, 5-0 straight up, 5-0 against the spread. And when the betting markets who have been, they've been betting New England every week, essentially. You go back to the Cleveland game, the Atlanta game, and now they've cashed 2 in a row. What are you going to do when you're winning with one team? You're going to bet them again the next week, and I think that's what they're doing here. This opened as low as 3 in some spots, and now it's up to 6.5 across the board. I think it's getting a little bit inflated personally, but we got to see this Titans injury report clear up a little bit by Friday before we can get involved with them, or at least before I can get involved with them, because this is significant. Key personnel missing on both sides of the football potentially for this game. We already know about Derrick Henry, Bud Dupree, abdominal injury, Julio Jones, with a chest injury. Now A.J. Brown may not suit up. You're talking about 2 top receivers might not go here for this Titans team to go with Derrick Henry, who is the number 1 catalyst for this offense. You've got the injuries on defense, Janoris Jenkins. You've got, like I said, Dupree earlier. You've got Chris Jackson in the secondary. You've also got another receiver, too, Marcus Johnson out. So this is a beleaguered and ravaged football team from an injury standpoint. So I got to see if we get some of these players back. And it's not just the injuries, it's the decline of this offense. Because let's not forget, even in the win against the Rams on the Sunday night game a few weeks ago, the offense didn't really move the ball. A lot of that was Matt Stafford throwing picks, a pick 6, and another interception, which set up the Titans with a short field in that game. That Titans offense and Tannehill didn't have to do much. That was the first game without Derrick Henry. So this is an offense that has clearly had their problems now the last couple of weeks. The Rams game, the Houston game, couldn't hold on to the football when you've got new players in the offense. You've got all kinds of different faces out there. You're going to be out of sync. You're going to have screw-ups. And they turned the ball over with reckless abandon against Houston in that game. And it was the ultimate bet against spot for Tennessee. After all the big games they played and the injuries mounting, it made all the sense in the world to take Houston last week. But now the shoe's on the other foot. The betting markets have crashed on Tennessee. The betting markets are red hot, white hot, whatever term you want to use on the New England Patriots. This is not a buy low spot for New England. This is absolutely a buy low spot for Tennessee. But man, they're such a banged up team that I got to see if they get some of this artillery back before I'm ready to take points with them. I'm leaning that way. Mike Vrabel's gotten the better of his teacher, if you will, Bill Belichick, in the 2 head-to-head meetings between these 2 teams since Vrabel was the head coach. 2-0 straight up and against the spread for Vrabel over Belichick, including a playoff victory for the Titans over this Patriots team. But again, this is a banged-up football team. And again, Vrabel's going to know what to expect from the Patriots. This is a guy that played under Bill Belichick for the New England Patriots for a very long time in the earlier years of the Tom Brady-Belichick era. Vrabel was on a lot of those New England teams. He's going to know what to expect here a little bit. So there's a lot of reasons and point spread value as well to like Tennessee. But that injury report's ugly. I got to see it clear up before I can go ahead with it.
Yeah, Patriots with the Bills on deck. This is just, there's so many levels to this cap. CMac, take it away. Titans, Patriots.
Yeah, you went over a lot of it, Bobano. Sometimes you run it over and nail a lot of the shit that I'm going to say. The thing I wanted to bring up was Vrabel's been really good against Belichick. There's a shitload of love. The shitty thing is those injuries. Those are the playmakers. Without Henry now, they can run the ball, but it's just difficult to take. If this goes, I think Birdie said, if I could get over 7, I like the Titans here, especially if we can get news on Brown or Jones in this game. I think it's just too many. I think Vrabel knows a few of the secrets of this Patriots team and Belichick. But this team's just rolling. The most impressive thing has been the defense with the Pats. They've been phenomenal here with the news of these. Right now, I will make this official. I want the under. I just don't know if I want to double up and take the Titans under, team total under. This Patriots defense has been for real. And after seeing the Titans right now, they don't scare me anything going into this game. And it seems kind of the flat spot you talked about, Jimmy. Bills on deck. Seems like a ho-hum workman-like game. Belichick, they're going to blow out Vrabel here. I'm sure if they're up, he's not going to totally run it up here. So I like the under 44.5 in this game. And I might look at the Titans team total, see if these guys come back. I think the Patriots defense is really coming into form. The big problem is, Jimmy, in some of these games, they've scored so much, they've been blowouts. It's been over, like when they beat the Browns 45-7, the Jets 54-30. They've had some games where that scares me a little bit. But I don't know. I don't see it here. I like the under 44.5.
I like the under too. I think the under makes perfect sense. Like you said, quote unquote, the workmanlike effort with the Bills on deck. And now the question is, do we wait and see if Titans get some of their playmakers back? If they get their playmakers back, we might be able to get a little bit of a better number. Or are they not coming back, ruled officially out, and the number drops to 42.5?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Difficult.
So I think we bet tonight. That's what I think.
I think we bet tonight too.
I think if you like the under, you do bet it tonight. This number's not going to hold. It's already gone down a little bit from the opener, and I'm seeing 44.5 in this one. So keep in mind. By the way, Mac Jones, you can make an argument. He's been the most efficient quarterback in the NFL the last 2 weeks. Two above 80% completion games in a row for Mac Jones. Like, he is just making great throws, and his accuracy is, I've been seeing him make throws right into tight, narrow windows and double coverage, triple coverage even sometimes. Like, his accuracy's been off the chart the last couple weeks. He's not making mistakes. He's got 4 TDs, the 1 interception. You got to love the progression for him. And this is a team that's got it going now. Offense, they're running the ball. Stevenson, they get Damian Harris back last week as well. The defense is playing their best football of the year. It just feels like the point spread value ship has sailed a little bit for New England. And I'll throw out one last stat here, and you cannot forget this or sleep on it. Tennessee 5-0 against the spread as an underdog this year, and they won all 5 of those games outright. Don't sleep on that. There's a tough team in this price range to bet against.
The Seahawks
Phenomenal.
win. The Seahawks win was like, I was losing my shit. I was losing my mind. I was so pumped up watching them do that. So do you want to add to that, CMac, before we move on?
No, Frabe, he's just unbelievable as a on the road as a dog. His record speaks for itself, and this year it does as well. So I don't want to lay the points with the Pats. It's just a little bit too high here. I want nothing to deal with it, but I might look the other way. I don't know if we get 7.5. Maybe those guys are out. I don't know.
I don't think I need to bother with the side. I think we just
me too.
Under 44.5 and sit back because
Great.
Yeah, it just makes perfect sense that with the Pats focusing on the Bills, and this is a broken Tennessee team. If the Patriots,
I wouldn't talk you out of that under, either of you. I wouldn't.
If the Patriots start running the table, it's going to make for an extremely exciting finish to the season, and I love it. Let's move on. 1 p.m. Eastern, Philadelphia Eagles, 5-6, 4-2 on the road at New York Giants, MetLife Stadium, East Rutherford, New Jersey. 41 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 10 miles per hour. The Eagles open up as 3.5-point favorites at -104. There's been no movement, absolutely nothing, not a cent movement at Pinnacle. And this total opening up at 46 at -109 to the under. There's been a 2-cent move towards the under. So very little movement in this spot. 3,568 tickets in. 23% of the tickets are on the Giants and Daniel Jones, 37% of the cash. That's interesting. 62% of tickets are on the under, and we don't have the cash up yet. Terry Walker on these Giants. Same with Real Deal. Real Deal Prime's just laughing at the Giants. Okay. My fault. Eagles coming off their second straight win. Dominant 40-29 victory over the Saints. 242 rush yards on the league's number 1 ranked defense. Sirianni earned his first home victory in 5 tries. Jalen Hurts, 13-24 for 147 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Ran 18 times for 69 yards, 3 touchdowns. Miles Sanders ran 16 times for 94 yards. He did lose a fumble. Jordan Howard ran 10 times for 63 yards. He's dealing with a knee injury and is not expected to be available on Sunday. This has been a running back core by committee. It looks like it won't be on Sunday. Dallas Goedert led the receivers with 5 catches for 62 yards. Devontae Smith was next with 4 receptions for 61 yards. Darius Slay returned an interception, 51 yards for a touchdown, and then was placed in concussion protocol. So have to wait and see. He's a big piece to this secondary. TJ Edwards also picked off Simeon. They didn't record a sack, but they did get 5 quarterback hits. And Davian Taylor was put on IR with a knee injury. Linebacker Davian Taylor. The Giants are on a short week after an ugly 30-10 loss at Tampa on Monday night. They've lost 10 straight games in primetime. Twice this year with Washington and Kansas City before losing to Tampa. Then today they fired offensive coordinator Jason Garrett after less than 2 years on the job. I don't know how he got the job in the first place. So this league, they seem to take care of their own, and somehow he's going to be on a sideline somewhere soon, and he doesn't deserve to be, in my estimation. Giants have averaged 18.9 points per game this season. That's 25th in the NFL on offense. In 2020, that was Garrett's first season. They were 31st in the NFL at 17.5 points per game, and they have weapons. Giants on Monday finished with 215 total yards. It's the second lowest of the Joe Judge era, 26-game Joe Judge era. 66 rushing yards, 15 first downs. Only one of the Giants' 54 offensive plays versus the Bucs gained more than 16 yards. It's trash. Giants have scored 30 points only once in the Joe Judge era. They're trash. Against Tampa, Daniel Jones was 23 of 38 for 167 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Kadarius Toney led receivers with 7 catches for 40 yards. Darius Slayton had 4 catches for 37 yards, lost a fumble. Saquon Barkley returned from injury. As CMac said, he didn't look healthy. 25 yards, rushed 6 times for 25 yards, caught 6 balls for 31 yards. Defense could get no pressure. Brady was sacked 0 times. Adoree Jackson did have an interception. A free safety, Logan Ryan, out because of COVID protocols. Tight end Kyle Rudolph left with an ankle injury in the third quarter. There's been no update. Sterling Shepard, Caden Smith, safety Nate Ebner, fullback Cullen Gillespie, linebacker Lorenzo Carter, all inactive last week. And Enlisted is questionable this week. Just because CMac bounced for a second, I'm gonna let's rock with our guy Bobano to open this one up. But the main thing, the only real point that I think that CMac missed here is just that there's going to be no Jordan Howard, so we're going to see Miles Sanders as RB1. Is he capable of running the ball 25 or 30 times? Darius Slay's in concussion protocol, and what will the Giants do after firing Jason Garrett? Bobano, take it away.
Yeah, it's a small lean to the Giants, but it's nothing convincing for me. It's just I have a difficult time trusting the Eagles laying more than a field goal on the road in a divisional game. And there's some things that you got to like about how this matchup goes for the Giants, because when you look at it, Daniel Jones, awful against Tampa Bay. But, that Tampa Bay defense there under Todd Bowles, the one thing they do a lot, they blitz, they bring extra guys, they bring extra pressure to the opposing quarterback. The Eagles don't do that. They're basically going to lay off, play more coverage schemes on the defensive side of the football. And that's where Jones sometimes is a little bit more effective. He's frazzled, when the pass rush gets to him. But when he's got a little bit more of an opportunity to throw the ball, which he should here, I think that's going to help a little bit. Saquon Barkley clearly I don't think was at his best from a health standpoint Monday night, but a game under his belt and another few more days off before this game should help him a bit going into this one. The overall, the Giants have been good in the underdog role, for the most part. They've been able to basically, cover a lot of numbers, and the Monday night loss notwithstanding. It's just, I think from an offensive matchup standpoint, they're going to be a little bit better in this game. On defense here against the Eagles, you mentioned the Eagles running back injuries. That does concern me a little bit. We'll see if the Eagles can take advantage of that here, but the Giants are good against the run. That's the one thing they've been able to do. They've been good against the run. The secondary, we'll see if they can hold up. And look, the Eagles outside of Smith and maybe Dallas Goedert, the tight end, this is not a great slew of weapons at his disposal here for Jalen Hurts throwing the football. So I think this is definitely a more manageable matchup. And let's not forget, Tampa Bay was really, truly out for blood, Monday night. That was 2 consecutive losses for Brady and the Buccaneers. They took advantage of a Giants team that I think they matched up well against. I think this is more of an even matchup, and we've seen the Giants in these divisional games as dogs. Remember the Washington game earlier in the year. They kept that game close right down to the wire. So I can't say I'm rushing to back the Giants, guys, but it would be the preferred side for me.
Interesting breakdown. I can't wait to hear CMac here, but let's just quickly stop briefly here for our guy Ron Crawford, who put so much energy into our shows with his spreadsheet plays of the day. Man, we love very much this. Having early morning surgery We'll relay the spreadsheet play today if I get one. Ron, we love you, man. I'm not sure what your surgery is, but get better fast and know that you're
get
loved.
well.
We will send you energy.
Best wishes.
And if we're not going to get to see this for a little while, let's get Ron Crawford's face up here quickly. We love you, Ron. Get better quickly, and come back to us as soon as you can because we cherish capping with you. Take
Cheers
it away,
to you, Ron. There we go. Cheers to you, right there. Salute.
I'm in on that. CMac, take it away. Eagles Giants.
Man. All right. This is a tough one here. Eagles all of a sudden flying high a little bit, no pun intended. With Jalen Hurts running the ball really, really well, scoring points too here. Even that loss to the Chargers, 27-24, they beat the Lions. They went into Denver 30-13 and then just pounded the Saints. It's tough to ignore. How is this team just on the rise here? I don't know. I got to see more. They look really good lately. And Giants have fooled me a lot. This is a spot you talked about, Bobano, that I guess you lean to them a little bit, but they haven't been really good as a home dog. They've been a lot better on the road, especially if you're catching more points with the Giants. This spot's interesting. Giants have had 4 straight unders. The defense has played pretty solid. Eagles have had, 4 or 5 overs lately. They've been scoring at will. I don't know what gives in this one. Obviously, it's a divisional matchup. I automatically look at the under, especially at 46. I'm not strong on it, and I lean the Giants a little bit. It's just Jones. I don't trust him at all. It's tough. Golladay didn't. I think he had 1 catch. They didn't even throw his way last night. They looked okay the first half, and they just got ripped in the second to the Bucs. I don't know what. Barkley's back. He had 6 carries. I know they wanted to bring him in slow into this. Very difficult one for me. It seems like, though, the Eagles, in the last few years, they have been better on the road, but now you're asking them to go on the road and cover by number here more than a field goal. That doesn't interest me at all in this game. So, I mean, just as a lean, it's the Giants, and I'd lean under this 46 if I had to make a bet on the under. I don't love it. This Eagles scoring the points has been pretty crazy. I want to dig it a little more into this game, to this total, but that's just my lean here.
62% of the tickets right now are on that under. It's an interesting look at the under. You're right. Just recency-wise, watching the Eagles put up so many points. I'm going to put an under question mark there. What I don't want to do is believe in what we've been watching the public lose badly over the last month, believing in what they saw the week before.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the perfect situation for that to happen. So,
yeah.
But Birdie says teams just do not know how to defend this Eagles rushing attack. I think I'm very square this week, but I'm not stepping in front of this Eagles offense. So nothing official from any of us here in Eagles Giants. Let's keep rolling. We got a lot of games still to roll through, but do stop me anytime you guys want to just kind of lock anything in officially. Next up, Atlanta Falcons 4-6, 3-2 on the road at Jacksonville Jaguars 2-8, 2-4 at home. We're at TIAA Bank Field in Jacksonville, Florida. 61 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 8 miles per hour, chilly in Jacksonville. Atlanta opening up as 1-point favorites. Hard to believe that they could be favorites against anybody in the entire National Football League, especially on the road. This total opened up at 46. There are 46.5 on the board. When we get to the cash flow, just 2,206 tickets in on this game, the lowest of any of the games. And why? I get it. But listen to this. 76% of the tickets are on the Falcons and 92% of the cash. 51% of tickets are on the over. 99% of the cash also on the over. Terry Walker says Atlanta or the over. Falcons come in off extra rest and prep after getting beaten up badly for the second week in a row, this time losing 25-0 at home to the Patriots on Thursday night. Matt Ryan, 19-28 for 153 yards, no touchdowns, sacked 4 times, intercepted twice. This just days after posting the lowest passer rating of his career in a 43-3 rout by the Cowboys last Sunday. Russell Gage led receivers of 5 catches for 49 yards. Their running was awful. They finished with 16 carries for 40 yards. Olsen had 9 carries for 34 yards to lead the team. Their defense kept them in the game. 3 sacks, 5 quarterback hits. A.J. Terrell had an interception. They simply had no offensive punch, and what? It's just because Cordero Patterson was unable to go? No. Look, he's a decent player, but guy's been passed around. Patriots focused on shutting down Kyle Pitts. That's what Belichick does. I don't know why we don't just take the player prop under whatever specialty player is going up against the Patriots week in and week out. I know why I'm not doing it because I'm trying to bet 0 player props this year. Falcons placed Dustin Colquitt, their punter, on reserve COVID list. Safety Jalen Hawkins and cornerback Kendall Sheffield were inactive last week. List is questionable this week. Jacksonville comes in off an ugly 30-10 loss at home to the 49ers on Sunday. It was a big mistake by me to back them against a Niners team that's clearly coming together. More wins than losses, but the losses hurt more than the wins feel good, and I need to change that. We all need to change that. Jaguars finished with 200 yards on 44 plays, 5th fewest in franchise history. Trevor Lawrence, 16 and 25 for 158 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Marvin Jones led receivers with 4 catches for 52 yards. Chanot caught 5 balls for 50 yards. He did lose a fumble. They got nothing on the ground. They rushed 16 times for 54 yards. Looks like Robinson is still hurt. Looks like that heel injury is still an issue. 12 carries for 29 yards. They got no pressure on Jimmy G. 2 sacks, 4 quarterback hits. They couldn't get stops. San Francisco scored on their first 5 possessions. They ran 33 of the game's first 37 plays, had more first downs than Jacksonville had yards midway through the second quarter. Jamal Agnew hurt his leg in horrific fashion. He's done for the season. Meyer called it devastating. That's what you want to hear from your coach. What an ass clown. You want to say something like, I feel so bad for him because he's worked so hard this year, but we are a team that's going to pull together through. Not. Oh, it's devastating. What a idiot. Cornerback Shaquille left to be evaluated for concussion, was later ruled out. He's in concussion protocol. Quarterback Tyson Campbell left with a shoulder injury. He's listed as questionable. Left tackle Cam Robinson, knee injury. Safety Andre Sisco, groin left in the fourth quarter. Both are listed as questionable. Dakota Allen, who linebacker, was inactive last week, listed as questionable this week. After talking this out, and I need to hear you guys, but I'm like, God, I just, anytime I mess around with the Falcons, I lose money, whether I back them or fade them. I have 1 win with them this year, but I believe I've lost 4 times. But don't we expect the Jags to bounce back? Isn't this Falcons defense a little different than the Niners defense? Although the Falcons defense not at fault. CMac, take it away. Falcons, Jags.
I feel your pain, Jimmy, with these Falcons. They have gotten me. I had a little run with them first half last year, and I could do that with the Cowboys. I wish they hadn't looked like such dog shit 2 weeks in a row, because we'd be catching points, I believe, with the Jags here. Now it's just a pick 'em. Atlanta -1. If they were any bit better in those games, we'd have points here with the Jags. This is just a total stay off for me. I think if you like the Falcons, they're notorious for getting big leads at halftime. Matt Ryan's just old back there. The offensive line's not very good. One thing till last week, Niners took off the pedal. Niners are getting healthy, by the way. They're looking a lot better the last few weeks. The Jags defense, I thought they were good in that win against the Bills. I don't think they've been too bad lately. It's crazy to say. I lean with the Jags. This is a game, though, I'm totally off. We've already, gone through games, almost 2 hours. I'll be quick. I'm off of this. So I want nothing to do with betting this game.
Viper's right. I find these bum fights so enjoyable.
I know. I try to look into it.
I find them so riveting. Bobano, take it away. Falcons, Jaguars.
Yeah, to me, this is a game that's tough to get involved with, I'll be honest. I can't make a compelling case for either side. Atlanta, after that pathetic showing on Thursday night against New England now, normally with extra time following a Thursday night game, I have faith in that team using extra time to put in a good game plan. I'm not sure Arthur Smith's capable of putting in a game plan that works from what I've seen here so far this season for the Falcons. So, you got to have a good coach to take advantage of that extra prep time, and I'm not sure that's the case right now with Atlanta, but you mentioned it with Jacksonville. They're in a position now where they've got to win the game to cash a ticket. I know they beat Buffalo. They beat Miami over in London by the skin of their teeth, but the offense is ground to a halt. The defense continues to really struggle for the most part. I still don't know how they held the Bills to without a touchdown in that one game. But, other than that, they gave up 31 to Seattle, 23 to the Colts, 30 to San Francisco last week, just couldn't get off the field. That being said, you've got to believe Atlanta after facing Dallas and New England and scoring 3 points. How does this offense and Matt Ryan score just 3 points in those two games combined? Just absolutely brutal. And there are injuries on offense for Jacksonville. Robinson's banged up. Agnew's not going to play. Jimmy alluded to that ridiculous quote saying devastating. You know, you got to instill confidence and belief in the football team. I'm not sure saying something like that does that. So rather than a side, maybe I get to the over. We'll see. 45 the total. It's got to be a game where I think Atlanta can at least do some things, at least with Pitts and Cordero Patterson. Now, Jacksonville can get a pass rush, but the one thing we saw from Jimmy G last week in that game for San Francisco, got the ball out quickly. Matt Ryan doesn't always do that, but if he figure it out, Matt, get the ball out quickly. You do have a pass rush here, Josh Allen, the other Josh Allen leading it. That's been pretty good at times for Jacksonville. Get the ball out quickly, find Pitts, find Cordero Patterson out of the backfield, because guess what? Jacksonville, and I know this from a prop standpoint, I've been picking on Jacksonville's defense in terms of tight ends, running back, receiver yard props, because they are horrible covering the middle of the field. Absolutely awful, the Jacksonville Jaguars are. So if you're Atlanta, find Pitts, the tight end, get the ball out quickly to Patterson, and if Smith has the freaking brain power, which I pray to God he does, he can't be that thick to not figure this out himself. This was a guy that was a good OC in Tennessee. You know, if you do that, Atlanta should find their way to some offensive success in this game. So I don't want either side, but I might make a case as we go later in the week toward an over.
And, you know, the more we talk about it, I can't fade Atlanta after how bad they've looked the last 2 weeks, because it's just not how the NFL works in this time of year. So this probably...
Look at the quality of opposition. Now, Trevor Lawrence has taken his lumps. This is not the rookie season he hoped for. But look at the defenses and teams lately. Tennessee, Seattle, Buffalo, Indy, San Francisco. This is a huge step down. Atlanta's a bottom 2 or 3 defense in the NFL. This has got to be a game where maybe we start to see that number 1 overall draft pick type of talent from Trevor Lawrence.
And I would like that, but I have the Falcons under 7.5 wins at plus 100. So basically,
Stick
I'm cheering
with it.
on. Yeah.
Cheer on the Jags, Jimmy.
So I don't need. Maybe I just stay off. There's only a couple $100 on it, but maybe I just stay off this. All right, let's keep rolling. Next up, the final 1 p.m. game on the schedule. Then we move into the afternoon games, and there's not many of them. But we will tighten up the ship here. Jets 2-8, 0-5 on the road. Texans 2-8, 1-3 at home. We're at Energy Stadium in Houston, Texas. Bum fight number 2 here. Yeah. The Texans open up at -3 at plus 110. They're now -3 at plus 111. So they're basically a 2.5, which is what we see everywhere else. Although Bodog's hanging a 3 at plus 100. This total opened up at 44. It's now at 44.5 or 45. I truly believe, and it didn't look good 5 minutes in, but that Jets team total under, after what Salah said about the decision to go with Flacco over White, was about the easiest bet. What I should have done was also taking the Dolphins, but I cashed the under. I cashed the Jets team total under, and it was one of those times where you sit back and you're like, this is very, very easy. How am I down 0.25 units on the season? The Jets come in off a 24-17 home loss to the Dolphins. Let's take a look at the cash here. We have 37% of tickets on the Texans and 59% of cash. And I get that. I get that after what we've seen from the Texans last couple of weeks. Then we have 30% of tickets on the over, but 76% of cash on the over, which is very interesting. So the Jets had allowed at least 45 points in 3 of their past 4 games. And I still know what the Dolphins are going to do. And I feel similarly about the Texans. They're just not going to run up the score. Flacco played well, 24-39, 291 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. If I had have given you my prediction of his statistical breakdown, it wouldn't have been 291 yards. And probably not 2 touchdowns, maybe 1 touchdown. But 24 of 39, 0 interceptions was exactly where I kind of thought he would be. Elijah Moore caught 8 passes for 141 yards and a touchdown. Jamison Crowder caught 6 passes for 44 yards and a touchdown. Michael Carter ran 9 times for 63 yards before suffering a high ankle sprain. He's expected to miss a couple weeks. Quincy Williams was excellent. 15 tackles, 2 coming for a loss. But the Jets could get no pressure. 0 sacks, 2 quarterback hits. Ashton Davis did pick off Tua. Linebacker C.J. Mosley took a helmet-to-helmet hit. He's in concussion protocol, and Zach Wilson, inactive last week, questionable to return this week. Texans coming off a big 22-13 win at Tennessee to snap their 8-game losing streak. I was on the under. I wish that I had the balls to bet the Texans. I wish. And I know a lot of you guys had the balls, and sadly I did not. They intercepted Tannehill 4 times, although they were outgained 420 to 190. Desmond King got 2 of them. Great to see the ex-Titan snap off 2 picks. Houston's victory is the latest win in a season by a team with the worst record over the team with the best record in the same conference since the 1970 merger. It was a wild, wild victory. Tyrod Taylor, 14-24 for 107 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Also ran 6 times for 28 yards and 2 touchdowns. It looked healthy out there. Chris Conley led receivers with 4 receptions for 37 yards. Rex Burkhead ran 18 times for 40 yards. Texans held the Titans without a sack for the first time since week 15 of the 2020 season. Came into the game with 27 sacks. It was the first time Houston had not allowed a sack since week 11 of last season against New England. They were able to dial up pressure all day. 2 sacks, 8 quarterback hits. They managed to do that without defensive lineman Jonathan Greenard. 7 sacks in 7 games. He was back in Houston with an injured foot. He's questionable to go this week. They've strung together consecutive games, forcing 5 turnovers. Jordan Jenkins, their linebacker, hurt his knee. Posterior cruciate ligament in his left knee. He's expected to miss at least 3 weeks. Bobano, we start with you. Bum fight, Jets Texans.
Yeah.
Yes.
Zach Wilson starting this week.
There he is.
This is CNN.
Yes.
Jets fan Jose with the news bulletin right
I've been
there.
waiting
Zach
for that.
Wilson is playing. Yeah.
I think I've been waiting for that.
Yeah,
all
Wilson
my life.
is going to play, exactly.
God,
Thank you,
that's so
Jose.
good.
You know, I was going to mention that, but thanks for mentioning anyway. Yeah, Zach Wilson's back. Well, I'll give Joe Flacco credit, all right, for the game against Miami. Mike White, for the last few weeks, had been nothing but dink and dunk, throwing the football short to intermediate. Defenses were finally starting to catch on to it after a few weeks, and the Buffalo Bills, I know a couple weeks ago, embarrassed him in that game. But they figured it out. And well, the one thing we saw from Joe Flacco last week against the Dolphins is he threw the ball deep. You know, he at least stretched the field. They went down the field a little bit in that game, and they had some success doing that. Now, they lost the game 24-17, but there were 3 or 4 drives that ended up with no points in Dolphins territory in that game for the Jets. You know, they missed a kick. They turnover on downs a couple times. Turnovers were an issue, but they moved the ball for a large part of that game against the Miami defense with Joe Flacco. Now it's Zach Wilson this time around for the Jets. We'll see. He's been out for a while. How does he fare here? It remains to be seen. You look at the Jets, though, it was at least a step in the right direction, the way they played in that game against the Dolphins. On the flip side, look, I loved Houston last week in that spot against Tennessee. It was a flat spot beyond belief for the Titans, a banged-up team. Texans were getting double digits, and I didn't know they'd win the game, but I thought there was just too many points that would be close either way. But don't be fooled by the final score. It's one of the most misleading final scores you'll see in the NFL this season. I mean, obviously Houston won the game, and you give them credit for it, but they were outgained, you know, by a massive margin in that game, 420 to 190 in terms of total yardage in favor of the Titans. 5 Tennessee Titans turnovers, +5 in the turnover margin for the Houston Texans. So it's going to look like, wow, Tyrod Taylor and the offense, they really got it revved up, didn't they? No, they didn't. They just basically took advantage of short fields gifted to them, gift wrapped for them, early Christmas present 1 month early, 5 times, in fact, from the Tennessee Titans. You know, that's exactly why Houston put up the points they did. There's no freaking way I'm laying points with Houston. Now, I liked Houston last week, but now you're talking about a bad football team, and let's keep in mind what they're dealing with right now. 3 starting offensive linemen were out last week, and this is not a team with quality depth. So when you're talking about a bottom feeder team like the Houston Texans that were in a spot last week without 3 starting offensive linemen, you better believe that unit's going to struggle. You know, and that's the concern you've got here. And I think when you look at it too, their lead running back right now is Rex Burkhead. You know, the Jets are not good against the run. Everybody can run against the Jets. but I don't know if the Texans have any kind of run game to take advantage of it. Rex Burkhead, are you kidding me? In 2021, your top running back? How is that happening for this Texans team? So I don't know if Houston can take advantage of the Jets' defensive weaknesses here in this game. And I don't think, other than Brandon Cooks, there's a lot to work with in the receiving game for Tyrod Taylor. Wilson's an enigma. You know, he's had a lot of bad games this year, but he's also shown flashes. Maybe coming back into the lineup, fires him up this week. You got to admit, too, he's faced a pretty tough schedule of defenses early in the year. Let's not forget, when he was struggling, look who that he went up against. Zach Wilson early in the season when the Jets opened the year. Carolina's defense is good. Patriots, Denver's strength is defense. You know, they had a lot of good defenses they faced early in the year. Houston's isn't one of them. So right now, I might make this official. I was hoping it would stay at 3 because there are actually a couple 3s. I might make this official here. I will. Official play, New York Jets +3. There is a +3 at Pinnacle. I'm going to take the Jets here. I think that it's a winnable game for them in my mind.
You know, I absolutely love backing a skilled young quarterback when he's watched from the sidelines for 3 to 5 weeks. I always think that's just if he's healthy, it's the perfect opportunity in college as well. Having a skilled quarterback sitting on the sidelines, watching everything go down. You know, I think that, you know, you're not the only one who's on this here. We have Dennis Garcia on it. Guillermo Zertucci rolling with us right now. You know, especially there's so many elements at play here that have been working of late. 1, betting against what we saw last week. 2, backing the skilled quarterback who's been watching for 3 to 5 weeks. Fading the, I want to say the public, but I should double check that. Fading the sharps are on Houston right now. But I get what the idea here, Bobano, and it's going to.
You've got a bad football team in a plus spot for them, a divisional game against a good team. They got pretty fired up for it. Tennessee was in the mother of all flat spots, lethargic, sleepwalk spots, whatever you want to call it, last week, and Houston took advantage of it, but they took advantage of it because of 5 turnovers. I'm not convinced that if Tennessee's turning the ball over as much as that, you know, that Houston would have been able to do what they did. It really was more Tennessee just god-awful on Sunday, and an injury-riddled Tennessee team, too, which we talked about earlier, than anything good we saw to Houston. And now they're laying points in a non-division game that may not excite them anywhere close to as much as that game. No thanks.
Bobano, do you want +3 at -123, or do you want +2.5 at -105?
I'll always take +3 and pay up for it if it's available. So, yeah, +3.
All right. CMac, anything for you official, or do we move on to afternoon?
Yeah, just move on the afternoon.
Yeah, I'm gonna take more time with that bum fight. Jesus, I won't regale you with this tale, but I remember my first ever bum fight. My 13th birthday. I don't even want to. I dropped acid for the first time in my life, and in the end, 13th birthday. Yeah.
Nice.
And there was two female bums, and the one grabbed the one bum, and she was black, and it ripped the blonde wig. I'm 13. I don't realize it's a wig. Ripped the wig up. She's shaved head. I'm freaking out. And I remember I went and got some blueberry bubble gum so I would relax. All right, let's move on to 4:05 p.m. Eastern. Los Angeles Chargers 6-4, 3-1 on the road at Denver Broncos 5-5, 2-3 at home. We're at Empower Field at Mile High, Denver, Colorado. 62 Fahrenheit, sunny, 6 miles per hour. We have Denver opening up as 2.5-point dogs at +110. That's now 2.5 at +100. There are 3s on the board. Let me move over to spreads and totals. Yeah, Hastings Street. I keep getting these flashbacks. Oh, man. Jesus, what a wild night. I could tell you that story for 4 hours probably. Well, I could tell it well for 20 minutes. Chargers, Broncos, the total opened up at 47. It's now moved to 48 at Pinnacle. It's 47.5 everywhere else. Let's move over to cash flow in this Chargers spot. 3,165 tickets in. 20% of the tickets on the Broncos coming off their bye. 40% of the cash. 71% of the tickets on the under. 87% of cash on the under. And the over in the Chargers-Steelers game was the easiest bet of the year. Now, sure, they put up 41 points in the fourth quarter. It's easy to say that now, but with all the injuries, that was just too easy. Chargers coming off a wild 41-37 win at home over the Steelers. Their offense is excellent. Their defense is atrocious. 5 of the Chargers' 6 wins this season have been fourth quarter comebacks. Last season, they lost 5 times when leading in the fourth. You want to talk about the difference between Lynn Swann and Staley? Chargers generated 533 yards of offense, their 4th most since 2000. Herbert's the 5th quarterback in NFL history to throw for at least 300 yards passing and have at least 90 yards rushing in the same game. He was 30 of 41 for 382 yards. Did I say Lynn Swann? That's not right.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, my fault. I'm still thinking of
5 decades too late.
Yeah. No shit.
I'm still on Hastings Street. I'm still watching my first bum fight on Hastings Street. It was a real deal too. They bloodied each other. Keenan Allen, 9 receptions for 112 yards. Mike Williams caught 5 passes for 97 yards and a touchdown. Austin Eckler caught 6 passes for 2 touchdowns and ran 11 times for 50 yards with 2 touchdowns. 9th player in the Super Bowl era with at least 2 rushing and 2 receiving scores in the same game. They did get 3 sacks and 6 quarterback hits, but they made Big Ben look like an MVP again. Cornerback Asante Samuel Jr. suffered a concussion during the fourth quarter. He's in concussion protocol. Defensive tackle Christian Covington and Jerry Tillery were a big part of that over. Now, look, they don't play every snap or anything like that, but you lose those 2 defensive tackles with COVID, and now Laniel Joseph has been added to that list. Are they all coming back? Safeties Mark Webb Jr. and Eli Gilman were inactive and are listed as questionable this week. Broncos coming fresh off their bye week. They were last seen in an ugly 30-13 home loss to the Eagles. Bridgewater, 22 of 36, 226 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Teddy Bridgewater is now 14 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. So that's okay. That's all right. But they're averaging 10.7 yards per reception. That's not enough. And the opponents of the Broncos are averaging 12.5. Okubunam was the leading receiver with 3 catches for 77 yards. Broncos have 7 receivers, I believe, with at least 19 catches. 43 by Cortland Sutton. So Cortland Sutton, they just signed a big contract. That's 32nd in the league. Obviously, Jerry Jeudy out for 6 games, from games 2 to game 7 with the high ankle sprain, hurt, and Jerry Jeudy back should spark the downfield passing game. Javonte Williams has outplayed Melvin Gordon, I believe. Melvin Gordon did go 9 for 45 with a touchdown, but lost a fumble. Javonte Williams went 8 for 48. It was the first game since trading Von Miller where they were unable to dial up any pressure. The first times we saw this defense without Von Miller, they were dialing it up. Broncos were 7th in yards with 328.2. So that's defensively. 16th against the run at 109.9. 7th against the pass at 218.3. Tied for 20th in points allowed at 18.3. 26th on third down, 43.5%. That's not going to cut it. They've allowed 22 passes of at least 25 yards. It's ridiculous when you're paying that secondary the amount of money they're paying them. So Surtain's the only cornerback with an interception. Safety Justin Simmons has 4, Caden Stearns has 2, and Kareem Jackson has 1. But this grossly overpaid secondary. Bobano, Chargers, Broncos, take it away.
Yeah, it's definitely got that feel of we save our season spot for Denver a little bit in this one. They're coming off the bye week, and it was a ugly loss for them before the bye against Philadelphia, 30-13. You're right; they're going to get healthier here in this game. For me, I'm leaning Denver, but I don't know if it's enough points because I still think the Chargers are a little bit better than the Broncos. The one thing that does concern me a bit is Denver under Vic Fangio likes to blitz, bring the house, bring extra pressure. And Herbert at times against teams that play that way defensively has had some tougher games and rougher games as well. So the Baltimore game sticks out. Baltimore with Wink Martindale, what's he do? He brings extra blitzers in a lot, especially a lot of key plays, third downs. You'll see him bring extra pressure. And guess what? That was not coincidentally, in my mind, one of the Chargers' worst games. Or his worst game as of the season at quarterback for the Chargers against Baltimore. So that does concern me a little bit for this matchup. For Denver, again, rested off the bye. I still don't think much of this Chargers defense. I don't know about you guys. The more I watch them, the more I'm unimpressed. I mean, I like that they can get pressure with Joey Bosa, and he's obviously a top-tier pass rusher. They cannot stop the run. They've not been able to stop the run all year. If you're Denver, shame on you if you don't commit to Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. on the ground in this game. I mean, you look at the Chargers' numbers on the defensive side of the football against the run. We're talking 145 rushing yards per game, 4.7 yards per carry. That's not good whatsoever. This got to be a game where they commit to the run, help Teddy Bridgewater out. And by the way, there's another key injury, too, that you got to worry about for the Chargers. You mentioned a few of them, Jimmy. Linval Joseph, is Asante Samuel Jr. going to play with the concussion? I think he's developed into one of, if not their best cornerback in the secondary. He's played extremely well this season. And if he doesn't play, that's going to give the Broncos, and specifically, a guy like Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy, Tim Patrick, that's going to give them a lot more room to maneuver in that secondary down the field. And again, the more I watch this Chargers defense, the more I kind of feel they're not playing as well. So this, believe it or not, it may be a Denver team total over in this game because I think the Chargers offense could score some points here, but you got to think off a bye week with the blitz-happy scheme that Denver likes to run. They could have some success here defensively against Herbert. I do think this sets up, though, as a game where Denver can move the football. Do I want to trust the Broncos to win the game? I'm not sure, but I do feel kind of confident they can move the ball and put up points. And again, the more I see the Chargers defense, the more I'm unimpressed. They've struggled to get stops. You look at all the recent games. You mentioned it, Jimmy. Ben Roethlisberger looked like Joe Montana Sunday night against the Steelers. They couldn't get off the field on third down against Kirk Cousins. They're going to stop when it mattered against the Vikings the week before. Jalen Hurts and the Eagles, they couldn't stop them the game before that. So I'm looking probably at a Broncos team total over 22.5 in this one. In fact, I'm not just going to say I'm looking at it. I'm going to lock it in and make it official. Denver Broncos team total over 22.5.
You're muted.
Muted, Jimmy.
That makes perfect sense to me. Broncos off of the bye. This Chargers defense atrocious, but at this point, I don't know why we don't back the Broncos here. It does cost minus 125 for me right now if I wanted to bet the +3, but this all makes perfect sense to me. Let's hear what our man CMac has to say. Chargers Broncos, take it away.
Yeah, you have a 3 right now?
It's at minus 125. I mean, I could find that's at my book here staring at me. I could find a better one. I'm sure if I.
No, I'm gonna wait. Real quick, I'll wait because I think Charger money comes here a little bit, especially the later you wait in the week. I think this moves to 3. Who knows? I think there'll be a lot of love for the Chargers. This is a strange team. Obviously, Herbert's very good. The defense cannot stop anybody. They can light it up. But I think the Broncos off the bye at home here is going to be tough. Like you're talking about, Beno. I think they're just going to run it and keep running it and run it. Bridgewater play action. That could keep this game under. It's a little scary. Just right away, just go over here. I'd be a little bit leery. This over 47.5. Chargers last 7 times they've been there, 5 have gone under. Broncos are 8-2 to the under this year. They've played a lot of low-scoring games. Even last week, 2 weeks ago, Jimmy, when I had that under, there's a bunch of points early. It still stayed under, barely, that Eagles game. This is a tough one. I'd just rather wait. I don't mind your team total. I do think they score coming off the bye. Broncos are very Jekyll and Hyde team. To me, they're the ultimate 8-9 football team. 7 they went into Dallas 1. They have these weeks. They play okay. They grit some out. They get their ass kicked at times. They don't have many playmakers. Bridgewater's solid. He's always solid against the number ATS. But I'll sit back and wait because I think people will back the Chargers. And I've liked the Chargers. They've been good on the road. Even they went to the East Coast and got a cover this year. And usually I'll never take them there. They're a little bit better, going the mile high, I guess, if you want to lay points. But I'm not going to do it here. So, I'm going to just sit back and wait. I'm going to wait, maybe take the Broncos or maybe look at that team total as well.
Yeah, I like where you guys are at. I don't think we're going to see a 3, like a pick 'em, personally. Maybe we do, but I think and then look, if I'm betting $5,000, I'd be happy to take the +3 at minus 125. Betting $200, I don't want to take that minus 125.
No.
So look, so that's the situation that I'm dealing with right now. But I agree, and in fact, I guess I moved towards the Broncos money line. I guess that, but even that, I could just see Herbert ruining this at the very end.
That's
So
the
I
concern I have, exactly. And by the way, the team total look, which is 22.5 for me with the Broncos, the Chargers in their last 6 games have allowed 24 points or more to their opponents. 6 straight games, the Chargers have allowed 24 plus. So it fits well with that 22.5, in my opinion, to go over.
Yeah, it's nice. It's a nice low number on a 47.5. It's a nice low number, that 22.5. Great breakdown. I love it. Let's keep rolling. Next up, 4:25 p.m. Eastern. LA Rams 7-3, 4-1 on the road at Green Bay Packers 8-3, 4-0 at home. Lambeau Field, Green Bay, Wisconsin, 36 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 8 miles per hour. This one is absolutely fascinating, and I can't wait to talk about it. Let's first start with the market that we are dealing with. We have the Packers opening up at -1. There's been no movement at Pinnacle. There's been a 1 cent move towards the Rams. This total is at 48. There's been a 1 cent move towards the under. In a couple books, it moved it to 47.5. When we go to the cash flow in this spot, we have 3,139 tickets in. 45% of the tickets, 65% of the cash on the spread on the Rams. It's always going to be on the spread. I'm never going to give you the money line unless I mention money line. Then we have 59% of the tickets on the over and 81% of cash on that over. The Rams desperately needed their bye week. They were last seen in an ugly 31-10 loss at San Francisco in Week 10. Stafford looked bad, 26-41, 243 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. He threw 22 touchdown passes and 4 picks in his first 8 games. He's thrown 2 touchdown passes and 4 interceptions, being sacked 7 times, and his completion percentage keeps dropping. That's in his last 2 games. Cooper Kupp, I mean, what can you say about him? He's been spectacular and continues to be that way. 11 passes for 122 yards in that bad loss. They got no pressure on Jimmy G. 1 sack, 1 quarterback hit. They added Miller to this pass rush. They already led the NFL in sacks. How do you explain what's gone on? They add Beckham to the most prolific passing offense, and now, it became a must pickup after Robert Woods was lost for the season with a knee injury the same day that Beckham came in. They didn't get an upgraded defensive back, so they haven't been able to replace Troy Hill there in nickel. They didn't do that. They didn't find a new linebacker who can cover receivers. That's clearly been a need for them. The Packers come in off a 34-31 win in Minnesota. Aaron Rodgers, 23-33, 385 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. He was so good, and he now has this turf toe injury, which is perfect for his fucking story. And he keeps rising to the occasion off of all of this. He's a pretty spectacular quarterback. Valdez-Scantling, 4 catches, 123 yards. Devontae Adams, 7 catches, 115 yards. With Aaron Jones out of the lineup, A.J. Dillon ran 11 times for 53 yards, but they couldn't get enough pressure. 2 sacks, 5 quarterback hits. They had given up just 34 points over their previous 3 games, and then the Vikings just did whatever they wanted. Preston Smith had 2 sacks, but that pass rush with Rashawn Gary out, Zadarius Smith and Whitney Merciless out long-term is not very good. Elgin Jenkins went down in the 4th quarter with an injury to his left knee. He was carted to the locker room. So, look, this is a 2020 Pro Bowler at left guard who replaced Bakhtiari. Bakhtiari's yet to return from a torn ACL. I don't believe. This is his 3-week window. He has to play. I imagine that he's going to play. But let's take one last look at this. So Bakhtiari recently did an arthroscopic procedure on a surgically repaired knee and isn't expected to practice
out.
or
He's
play.
out from what I've read.
Wow. So the 3-week window will close and he won't have played. And maybe he doesn't play this year. And Jenkins is on the injured reserve. You have Lazard, Rashawn Gary still questionable. Merciless isn't coming back anytime soon on IR. Jair Alexander is still a long way out from returning. I mean, how can the Packers do anything but cash overs at this point? I'm not sure who we're supposed to start off with on this one. CMac,
I can go.
Let's go with you. Rams, Packers.
I'll be quick. Man, this is a freaking difficult one for me because you got the Rams who've looked horrible the last few weeks. They're off the bye. McVay's been really, really good. Obviously, he's been owned by Shanahan, the 49ers. They lost again. Like I said, he's really good off the bye. All these injuries to the Packers, and they got gashed a little bit. I was shocked it was that bad by Kirk Cousins. Because the weeks before, I thought this Packers defense has really been playing well. They played well all year for what they had, and they gave it up through the air to the Vikings. It was the ultimate spot for the Vikings. I'm sure a lot of us had it. They were the play through and through, but Kirk Cousins diced them up. They went deep with ease to Jefferson. He was burning them. Thielen, Cook was pretty good. This one's really tough. The tough thing for me is Aaron Rodgers. I know he's got the toe problem, but he's back at home. Packers do have a bye week after this, so it's a little tricky. They get healthy. I just have a tough time at a pick 'em not taking Aaron Rodgers here to win this football game. At home, Lambeau Field. It's just tough for me. To me, it's that or pass. This is I can't take the Rams. Stafford's shown a little bit of the Stafford of the Lions, and he's played the Packers pretty well when he played with the Lions. They could never win in Green Bay, but he did all right. So to me, it's a heavy lean with the Packers right now just to win the game. I know his toes messed up, and there's some other problems. Jones, at running back, other guys, D-line, but I'd only be on the Packers here. It's not easy, but Packers are nothing for me here.
See, my initial feeling is the opposite. Rams coming in off a bye. Everybody just watched them look terrible for 2 weeks. They needed the bye, and now this Green Bay Packers team is so beaten up. And look, the Packers could lose this game and still easily win the division. Look, I know that the Vikings are on the up and up, but I mean they have a nice comfort zone here. And I agree, if both teams were healthy, if both teams were coming off a bye, if both teams won their division and were meeting in the playoffs at Lambeau, completely different situation. But here, I think
they're shook a little bit, Jimmy. I mean, Woods is out, Beckham's in. I hope the bye. It is the old. If you like the Rams, I think so. But you're not getting catching points with the Rams here. Nah, I would want points with the Rams, in this game. So it's either stay off or Green Bay. I know Green Bay's banged up, and I look your way too, with the bye and that whole shit with McVay. It's but it's just tough for me that the Rams go in there and win, on Sunday.
If you had a free bet very quickly, CMac, really quickly on the total at 48, what would you do?
Wow, that's tough. After last week, but this is recency bias, I'd lean over, but before that, the Packers defense, maybe they were playing over their head, and I think they were a little bit. They're coming off that shutout. The Seahawks aren't very good, obviously, but I still think their defense is pretty good. I don't know. Give me the over, 47.5.
Sean Dune says Green Bay will beat the Rams. Same offense, San Francisco, better quarterback. Yeah, absolutely. But this is a team coming in off a bye against the Packers team that's absolutely beaten up. I want everybody to be on the Packers. I'm going to move on the Rams when this show's over. This is just not fair. It's just an unfair situation when Rodgers has turf toe and you're missing these huge pieces of the defense. Let's see if Bobano can shed some light on the spot. Rams, Packers, Bobano, take it away.
Yeah, I'm in Camp Jimmy a little bit more on this one. I've been high on the Rams all year. And yeah, they've had a couple of really bad games, a couple of rough weeks in a row. And obviously it goes without saying, but let's factor in the situation we had for the Rams for the Monday night game against San Francisco. They just got Von Miller. They just got, and they just found out Robert Woods was out for the year. They just got Von Miller. They just got Odell Beckham Jr. And look, they were barely with the team for a few days. Did they even get a chance to practice once or twice? And the chemistry was screwed up. Everything was out of sync. Nothing looked good. Nothing looked right for the Rams in that game against the 49ers. But now you've got Sean McVay off the bye. Now all these guys are going to get on the practice field. They're going to get reps. They're going to be able to build that chemistry a little bit. McVay's track record off a bye is second to none. I think he's covered almost every game as a Ram head coach off a bye week. Maybe one time he didn't cover, but I know his track record's damn good. Straight up an ATS off a bye week here. And Look, the one hesitation here is, man, I often like to back Aaron Rodgers off a loss and the Green Bay Packers off a loss. And obviously they're off one here against Minnesota last week in that back and forth shootout. But you can't overlook the injuries. You can't overlook that Aaron Rodgers has the turf toe injury, which he said earlier today on the weekly spot he does on the Pat McAfee show, said it's worse than turf toe, what he has. The pain of it is worse than turf toe. That's how much he's in. That's why it's beyond amazing what he was able to do last week through that injury against Minnesota. But here's the problem now. Bakhtiari's out again. The guy that was supposed to replace him at left tackle, he got injured last week. He's out for the season. You're down to a third left tackle on your depth chart for this game for the Green Bay Packers. And you've got a situation now where obviously Devontae Adams is going to be marked by Jalen Ramsey. You've got a third string left tackle essentially, and you've got to try to block the likes of Robert Quinn and Aaron Donald. That's difficult to me in this game with a hobbled quarterback that's got this bad toe injury that, look, he wasn't moving around all that swiftly against Minnesota last week. He did what he had to do, but it wasn't exactly a fluid, fully mobile Aaron Rodgers in that game against the Vikings. And now this is not a situation where you want to be on your third left tackle going up against this Rams defensive front and an angry football team, quite honestly, off a bye week, rested, and now playing after 2 straight losses. So it is a pure, flat-out Rams spot. It's a home run spot for the Rams, and I think the matchups are a little bit more in their favor. Now, you do have the black cloud over the head of Matthew Stafford. A big, important game like this on the road against a good football team and a good quarterback. Can you win a game like this? There's still some doubt there. There's still some question marks there. And how can this team find a way to get someone other than Cooper Kupp and Higbee at tight end to step up and make plays for Stafford in the passing game? That's still up for debate. But what's not up for debate is we've got a coach that's been consistently getting it done in this spot off a bye. We've got a compromised Green Bay offensive line and a hobbled quarterback that's going up against an angry team with still one of the better defensive fronts in the NFL. If I'm playing, I'm taking the Rams here.
Honestly, why even play Rodgers? This game means nothing to the Packers. Nothing. They could lose this game, be 8-4.
That factors into the spot. There's urgency for the Rams now. They're in a brutal division. They're in a huge battle with Arizona right now. San Francisco's not even fully out of it now after their last couple of wins. Green Bay's just cruising with ease. They're just on cruise control of the NFC North division. So the urgency level and, who needs the win more in this particular game? It's got to be the Rams.
I'm moving on the Rams and the team total over 23.5. Not that I don't like the over, but would you be shocked if they're like, Rodgers, you have a bye next week? Sit down. Let's get your toe right. So I'm moving on the Rams, then team total over 23.5 as soon as this show is over. And this is not a fair fight. And that's why we bet it.
Real quick. Rodgers going to be hobbled, of course, and I get it. That Rams defense needs to start showing up. There's still talk, and they're still pretty good, but they have not looked good in spots all year long. So they need to get shit together. Maybe Von Miller will bring that. So a lot of names, of course, Donald's still a beast, a freak in the middle of that D-line, but they have not in spots this year. That Rams' defense does not look like it has last year. So maybe they can start getting together and play a lot better.
We're going to learn a lot about this football team on Sunday.
Yes.
But you have to imagine that this is the perfect buy low spot if you trust this team moving forward. The best buy low spot you'll have all year on them. So I'm going to move on them, and who knows? Maybe we sit here on Sunday morning and it's Jordan Love and acting the fool. Let's move on to 4:25 p.m. Eastern. Minnesota Vikings 5-5, 2-3 on the road, and San Francisco 49ers 5-5, 1-4 at home. We're at Levi Stadium in Santa Clara, California. 62 Fahrenheit, mostly sunny, 6 miles per hour. This opened at -3 at -104 for the Niners. It's now -3, -116 at Pinnacle. 12-cent move towards them. This total opened up at 48, -113 to the over. It's still 48, but now -108 to the over. So a 5-cent move towards the under. These Niners, 2,849 tickets in. 47% of the tickets are on them, but just 39% of the cash. 64% of the tickets on the under and 87% of cash on the under. Vikings coming off a big 34-31 win at home over the Packers, the only team in the NFL this year to hold a lead of 7 or more points in every game. Wow. Kirk Cousins, 24-35, 341 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Justin Jefferson, 8 catches for 169 yards, 2 touchdowns. First player in the league this season to top 100 receiving yards in the first quarter. Adam Thielen, 8 catches for 82 yards and a touchdown. Dalvin Cook, 22 carries for 86 yards and a touchdown. But they couldn't get enough pressure with 2 sacks and just 4 quarterback hits. They're a pretty healthy squad right now. I mean, we know that Daniel Hunter is on IR, and that's a big piece. And Michael Pierce, who would be right beside him, is also on IR. But they didn't really lose anybody last week. And all things considered, they're a pretty healthy squad. These Niners are rolling, coming in off an easy 30-10 win at Jacksonville on Sunday. San Francisco scored on its first 5 possessions. 33 of 37 plays were theirs. 14 first downs, more than Jacksonville had yards midway through the second. Jimmy G, 16-22, 176 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Brandon Ayuk caught 7 passes for 85 yards and a touchdown. Deebo Samuel ran 8 times for 79 yards when we thought it was going to be Jeff Wilson. The Jaguars finished with 200 yards on 44 plays, 5th fewest in franchise history, 3 sacks and 6 quarterback hits for the Niners. And Devontae Harris left in the third quarter with a knee injury. This Niners squad has, of course, the 2 running backs, Elijah Mitchell and Jermichael Hasty, questionable, were inactive last week, and Maurice Hurst, same situation. But no new injuries after last week. It was a perfect road game, getting in and out without getting hurt. This is a wildly exciting game. Vikings-Niners. Babano, take it away.
Yeah, a little bit of a lean over the total here in this one. I mean, Minnesota, we've certainly seen them trend over the total a little bit in recent games. 3 of the last 5, 34-31 with Green Bay, 27-20 with the Chargers, 34-31 with Baltimore. They had a 34-28 game with Carolina. And don't look now, but that's 2 weeks in a row where the Niners offense has come to life. 31 points against a good Rams team. Not so good Jacksonville team, but still 30 points in that game. They've got some balance back in this offense as well. I'd like this offensive matchup here for the Niners more if they have obviously Elijah Mitchell available to them at the running back spot. Of course, he's questionable for this game, so we'll have to wait and see on that. You know, on the flip side, let's not forget the Niners defense for a very long stretch there. Late September to the end of October and early November was really struggling. Now they've played better the last couple of weeks, but they are still not a great team against the run. All right. And I keep going back to the fact that, guess what? If the Vikings offense can run the football, it makes Kirk Cousins a better quarterback, and it makes this offense work even better. And I think Dalvin Cook's going to be able to have success running the ball against the Niners. Let's not forget, Rams fell down big to the 49ers. They had to abandon running the football. Jacksonville last week fell down by a large margin to the 49ers. They had to abandon running the football in that game. If the Vikings are in this game and don't allow the 49ers to build up a margin here, and that allows them to keep running the football, I think they're going to be able to have success doing that. And it's going to open up everything for Kirk Cousins, to Justin Jefferson, to Adam Thielen, and to those receivers down the field if Dalvin Cook can run it. Let's not forget this Niners defense, you know, overall this year, 4.5 yards per carry allowed, 115 rushing yards per game allowed. It's not been pretty for them at times being able to stop the run. That should help this Minnesota offense. But again, we've seen the Niners offense come to life. You're still talking about a Minnesota defense that we've seen them struggle throughout a large part of the year. So as far as the side goes, you know, I certainly don't want to take Minnesota here. They're on the road, traveling to the West Coast off a big divisional home win against an arch rival. That's not a bet-on spot to me for Minnesota in this game. But the offensive advantages are there for Minnesota. So because of that, that steers me away from the Niners, which was my initial side lean in this game, Niners -3. Steers me away from that, steers me more toward the over. And I'm going to lock that in as an official play, over 48 in this one, 48.5. If I think there's still some 48s out there, I'm going to make that official. Over 48, Vikings, 49ers.
Very interesting look. I'm in the line shop for you right now. God, I agree with Dennis Garcia that the Niners are bet on. Public's going to be all over Minnesota. We have the incredibly well put PSA announcement from Clint started IR MMA podcast. Weekly Vikings PSA. Why am I Vikings +3 here? The 49ers are getting healthy and that defense is real, but they haven't impressed this year. Vikings will be a public dog. Beware. Let's see if CMac can find some clarity here. And also, should the Niners be sitting here as at 30-1 to win the conference and 60-1 to win the Super Bowl? CMac, take it away.
Yeah, this should be a good one. 49ers, though, always at home, laying a price like this, it's tough for me to take. I know they're healthy. I know they're hot. They're 1-4 the last 5, but I had it earlier in the year. I think they're 5-24, even the last few years when they were good, when they went to the Super Bowl. When they lay numbers at home, they can't cover them. You know, when they've been a dog, they've been extremely good. So that's tough for me. And Vikings have been in games all year. It's not that I love them either. I'm backing on the run of both these teams. I know the Niners haven't been good, but they are getting healthy, this defense, and I like it. So I'm going the opposite way from you, Bobano. You're on the over. I'm taking the under 48.5. I think this clock drains. I think it's a tight one. I think we stay under 48.5. And there's not a lot of points here. I think it could be a close one. I don't want to lay with the 49ers. They do look really good. Maybe too much recency bias. I know Vikings are going out west, but that home field hasn't been great there in Santa Clara. It just hasn't at Levi's Stadium, period. So I'm going to stay off the side, and I'm taking the under 48.5.
Where is there a hook? What book is there a hook? I don't have one on the offshores I'm looking at.
I had it at circa
48.5. Is that -110?
Yes, -110.
Wild. First time heads up between you two. Bobano on the over 48 at -108 at Pinnacle. CMac on the under 48.5 -110 at Circa. And why do I not put a small bet on the Niners at 30-1 to win the conference and 60-1 to win the Super Bowl?
Vikings 4-1 to the over on the road, by the way, this year.
CMac, touch on this future. Why do I not bet that right now?
I like it if you throw a few bucks on it.
$50 wins
$50, 40, $50. Yeah.
$50 wins 1,500 on the conference.
I like that. The injuries is just always around the corner. If this team stays healthy, even Jimmy G, the guy isn't accurate, but he gets the job done. I mean, he's a solid quarterback. He's been in the Super Bowl. They had the lead in the Super Bowl. They blew it, but they just got to be healthy. Kittle, I think that defense has played really, really well. I'm backing both defenses here, and they just run the ball. This one's tight. Of course, it could go over. Minnesota's leaned over lately. That last game with the Packers, they threw it all over. I want to see them do that regularly. Sometimes I think they start, the play calling's too weak with the Vikings, and they run it too much. Both teams love to run it, so I just lean under in this spot.
Wild. Great breakdown from both of you guys.
I agree with Jimmy was saying San Fran's a bet on team, but it's difficult to lay points against Minnesota. They're 4-2 their last 6, and the 2 losses were by 4 points or less. They just have this knack of playing these tight, down to the wire, decided in the final 2 minutes of the fourth quarter type of games, this Minnesota team, and that's what's concerning me here.
Minnesota is a tough dog, but the Niners seem like the perfect time to take advantage. And look, they've been so bad at home, but don't you think they broke that? Isn't that over now, CMac?
Broke the curse with that Rams game, maybe. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think so. Now they're laying it. No, they were catching points in that game. They had everything again. They were, that was their get back right, and they played.
Everybody soured on them after losing to Colt McCoy and the Arizona Cardinals, missing a bunch of key players on both sides of the football, and nobody wanted a piece of the Niners in that game going into the Rams game. And now, of course, they're favored instead of a home dog. They were there.
Well,
tough.
I'm gonna make a little wager. Obviously, I can't bet $50. It'd have to be a hundo. Right, I've got just at least get 6K and 3K. I mean, I'm gonna mess around, be a little bitch here after a few drinks. All right, let's move on to 8:20 p.m. 2 games left on the show. Thank you guys so much for rolling with us. It's been so much fun breaking down these games. But fun is second to great breakdowns and making money. And I've enjoyed hearing these breakdowns immensely. And I'm expecting my 5th straight winning week. Cleveland Browns 6-5, 2-3 on the road. Ravens 7-3, 4-1 at home. We're at M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore, Maryland. This game is – we have so many great matchups this week, and this is one of them. But this Browns team seems pretty broken. 40 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 4 miles per hour. We have the Browns opening up as 3.5-point dogs. There's been a 4-cent move towards them at Pinnacle. Baltimore opened up at -3.5, -111. They're now -107. This total opened up at 46.5, slightly juiced to the under. It's become more juiced to the under. A 6-cent move to the under. It's now under 46.5 at -117 at Pinnacle. Big Show Picks joining us. Thank you for the kind words, Big Show, my guy. Then we have 2,521 tickets in. So very small amount. And it's a pick 'em right now. 49% of the tickets on Cleveland, 53% of the cash. Then you have 42% of tickets on the over and 99% of the cash. There's not a lot of tickets in, so let's not get too carried away getting too excited about all that money on the over, especially when Pinnacle is still moving it towards the under. Browns coming off an ugly 13-10 home win over the Lions. Baker Mayfield, 15-29, 176 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Limited to practice this week. Shoulder, foot, and knee injuries. Says he's more beat up than at any point in his career. Fucking wah. Mayfield pulled off his helmet and went straight to the locker room without shaking hands with any teammates or Lions players. That doesn't bother me that much. I don't really, Austin Hooper caught 4. Look, he cares. He cares, and it was an ugly game. But everybody has a different idea of what leadership means, and everybody can make their own decisions around why he did that and what it's worth. Hooper caught 4 passes for 53 yards. Nick Chubb ran 22 times for 130 yards, caught 2 passes for 14 yards. The Browns' pass rush didn't register a sack, had only 2 quarterback hits. Malcolm Smith and Denzel Ward each had picks. Landry appeared to hurt his left knee, and now he's on injured reserve. Owusa Karamoa, their linebacker, went out in the second half with an ankle injury. Stefanski said Monday he expects Landry. So why do I have Landry's on injured reserve? I don't know why. Let me double check that so I'm not giving out bad information. Because Stefanski says right here, quote, I expect Landry to continue playing through this injury. So I'm going to double check that. Maybe someone can while we're doing this setup. Donovan Peoples-Jones and Anthony Schwartz were inactive, listed as questionable. Tack McKinley, cornerbacks Troy Hill and A.J. Green were inactive last week, listed as questionable this week. Baltimore Ravens coming off an impressive 16-13 win at Chicago without the services of MVP candidate Lamar Jackson. Out with a non-COVID illness. We'll be good to go this week. Tyler Huntley came in and played well. You could completely understand why the team likes him. Seems like a really quality guy. 26-36, 219 yards, no touchdowns, 1 pick. Ran 7 times for 40 yards. Said all the right things in the post-game presser. Mark Andrews caught 8 passes for 73 yards. Devonta Freeman ran 16 times for 49 yards and a touchdown. Ravens had 3 sacks, 7 quarterback hits. Now, Campbell suffered a foot injury. He's listed as questionable this week. That's going to hurt. Pernell McPhee is expected to have a short-term absence after undergoing arthroscopic surgery on his knee. Malik Harrison designated to return from the non-football-related injury list. He would be useful. Marquise Brown and Miles Boykin are both listed as questionable this week. Defensive tackle Brandon Williams, cornerback Jimmy Smith, offensive tackle Cedric Ogbuhi. I'm going to move on. Quarterback Anthony Everett, inactive last week and listed as questionable. CMac, let's get it started. The Sunday nighter divisional rivalry game. Browns-Ravens, take it away.
This one's super interesting to me. Browns play the Ravens, then they have a bye, then they play them again right after that. It's kind of strange. They're going to see them back-to-back if you look at the schedule. Everyone remembers this game was that wild 47-45 or something last year at the end of the season. But I don't know how that's anywhere close here in this one. Baker Mayfield does not look good. I think they keep running it with Chubb. I'm a little lost, though. I mean, Jackson obviously is going to be back, I'm guessing, off this illness. Everything shows here. That Ravens defense has looked good. There's nothing to say the Browns are going to score here on them. So I only look under in this spot. I don't love it. I really, at this point, don't want to lay 4 with everything going on with the Ravens. I don't want to take points with the Browns. This football team, you were talking about it, like the crying for Baker Mayfield and the whole team's bitching and moaning that they walked through that Rams game, which I knew, that was horrible. I mean, the Lions game, excuse me, last week. I just don't love this one. I'd look under in this spot. Maybe the Browns team total under here. And the weird thing is they play them off the bye, and then they play them again, and they probably will be healthier and maybe look the Browns that second time. So to me, this is a lean to the Ravens, and I'd slightly lean under in this spot.
Yeah, I think that cap makes perfect sense. You could see the Ravens taking care of business, the Browns just letting go, getting fresh off the bye, coming back and handling their business. Bobano, take it away, Browns, Ravens.
Yeah, this is really tough. I mean, I'm probably just going to maybe look at a Raven team total, potentially over if Lamar plays, because the one thing about Cleveland is they gave up 168 rushing yards to Detroit and DeAndre Swift last week. It was not good for the run defense of the Browns. And obviously, if Baltimore is going to be able to run it and Lamar's going to have room to maneuver, that's going to make that offense a lot better in a matchup like this. But you're right, Baker Mayfield's not 100%. He's getting booed off the field in a lethargic, poor performance against Detroit. He's getting frustrated and snippy with the media and the press conference, saying, I'm not listening to the boos during the game. I'm just focused on that. I couldn't care less what they're doing and what they're saying. So he's not in a good frame of mind right now. I don't like hearing that kind of stuff. When you're starting to get agitated and aggravated about the fan base to the media, that means your focus is not where it needs to be. It needs to be getting healthy and improving on a week-in, week-out basis. So that's definitely something that concerns me right now with this Browns team. I'll tell you what, early in the year, I thought the Ravens would decline a little bit this year, and I had the Browns to win the AFC North, but I haven't been backing the Browns lately for one distinct reason. I mean, all the injuries they've had to deal with along the offensive line. Jarvis Landry, questionable. You look at, Owusu Koromoa, who's been out for a long period of time, although it's looking like he might be able to play here in this one. They've had just a ton of injuries this year. Thank goodness, though, they do have Nick Chubb back. That should help a little bit here in this one against the Baltimore Ravens. And look, the Ravens haven't even been, stout at stopping the run at times. So that's a little bit of a concern you would have with Nick Chubb now back for the Browns. But Baker just hasn't looked right. This offense hasn't looked right. It's a Ravens team that even though they escaped against Chicago, they weren't happy with their performance. I don't have a really strong opinion other than maybe I get involved with a Ravens team total over later in the week if Lamar's a go. But right now, it's a fascinating game, but it's not one that from a betting perspective is an easy one to wrap your head around.
Even Stefanski saying that he expects Mayfield expects Mayfield as long as he's physically cleared to play. Knee, foot, and shoulder injuries. If he's physically cleared to play, he's going to. This sounds like another spot, sort of like the Aaron Rodgers, where you'd be better off letting him rest here with a bye week staring at you. I'm moving on the Ravens tonight at -3.5 at home with Lamar Jackson coming back. Moving on Ravens tonight, and I agree completely. I hope the Ravens win 40-15, and then we can come back on the Browns 2 weeks from now. There we go. Anything for you guys official here for the Sunday Nighter?
Not a bad strategy, Jimmy, because if there's one team that needs the bye week in the worst way, it's Cleveland. Get Baker healthy. Get the offensive line healthy. Conklin's been banged up. Treader's been banged up. Jedrick Wills has been banged up. The defense has had key injuries in the secondary at linebacker. Use the bye week. Get everybody healthy. And then if they get whipped by Baltimore, you're right. I like that thinking. Maybe a good bet on spot off the bye for Cleveland in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Real quick, Jimmy. Yeah, do you think you should wait just a little bit? You think we can see a 3 here? Or, we've already dropped to 3.5. Fours to 3.5 have come pretty quick. I don't know if we see a 3, but I just letting you know.
It's such a crucial number, but I'll tell you that some very dicey offshore books that we never speak of because they're so dicey have moved it to 4.
Yes, I see that. And yeah, I see those.
But you're right. The sharp books have moved it 4 cents towards the Browns. So, but no, I think that I'm going to take this 3.5 right now, and I think it's going to be very comfortable. The thing is, I guess I want the full game, but maybe this is just a double up smash spot for the Ravens, which isn't what I was planning on doing before we talked this out. But I'm going to be on the Ravens tonight, maybe bigger than I expected. I love the fact that the Browns have I think fading the Packers and the Browns with knowing that they have the bye week staring and they need it so badly might be Obviously, I'm not going to say is, but might be a really nice gambling situation for us. Let's move
You know
on.
what, though, would have been bigger? Real quick, Baltimore won, though, last week. I mean, what if they would have lost that game to the Bears? You know, Jackson's out, and they still get that W. Yeah, just interesting. That's all.
I just think that there's a good thing going on with Harbaugh and the group. They all seem to really like each other, fight for each other, say nice things about each other. You could see that there's a special bond between Lamar and Huntley. Everything is coming around where these guys like each other.
There's definitely more internal camaraderie and chemistry right now with the Ravens than the Browns. I don't think there's much of a debate.
You mean the Browns? The Browns, yeah.
Yeah, the Ravens over the Browns, yeah.
Too much kumbaya shit there, Jimmy. You're giving me. I'm just joking.
Let's move on to the Monday Nighter, November 29th, 8:15 p.m. Eastern. Seattle Seahawks 3-7, 2-3 on the road at Washington Football Team 4-6, 2-3 home. We're at FedEx Field in Landover, Maryland. 36 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 6 miles per hour. Let's start with the action in this spot. I just have to move this over quickly here. And we have Washington opening up as 1-point favorites. That opened at -1 at +101. They're now -1 at -104, so a 5-cent move towards the Washington Football Team. We have 2,622 tickets in. 23% of the tickets are on Seattle, 12% of the cash. 68% of the tickets are on the over, and 94% of the cash. And this is a very tricky cap when you talk about these Seahawks. They come in off an ugly 23-13 home loss to the Colt McCoy-led Cardinals. Second straight loss, 5th loss in 6 games. Booed by their home crowd. Punted on 5 of their first 7 possessions. Wilson sacked 4.5 times. Now, as a capper, you have to decide whether you think that Russell Wilson will bounce back because he's an MVP caliber quarterback, or he doesn't look right returning from his finger surgery and is not throwing the ball the way he's used to. You have to decide one of those two things, and then you know what you want to bet. 14-26, 207 yards, no touchdowns, no picks, lost 2 fumbles, recovered both of them. Tyler Lockett had 4 catches for 115 yards. No other receiver did anything. Metcalf was nowhere to be found. Alex Collins ran 10 times for 36 yards. You can't trust this running attack. 20 straight offensive drives without a touchdown before DJ Dallas scored on that 2-yard run with 7 minutes and 8 seconds left. Jordan Brooks, 15 tackles. Bobby Wagner, 14 tackles. Sidney Jones, 11 tackles. You don't need to question their defense. Secondary did not look good, though. McCoy threw for 328 yards and 2 touchdowns. Cornerback Trey Brown suffered a patellar tendon injury to his knee late in the first half. They're already without DJ Reed. At what point are they going to get picked on in the secondary, and is Heineke able to do that? Washington comes in off a big 27-21 win at Carolina. Heineke 16-22, 26 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Terry McLaurin caught 5 passes for 103 yards, but he's the only guy doing anything. Now, could that change because Logan Thomas is expected to be designated for a return from IR this week? If Logan Thomas comes back, then then it's more difficult. But McLaurin was the only receiver that was worth covering. Antonio Gibson showed a lot of character, benched in the first quarter after the fumble, comes back and looks great. 95 yards on 19 carries. Washington ran for 190 yards as a team. Chase Young done for the season, but they were able to, I guess they weren't really able to dial up pressure now that I go back to it. 1 sack, 5 quarterback hits. Center Tyler Larson, knee. Right tackle Sam Cosmi left the game in the first half with injuries, did not return. Larson suffered a sprained MCL, so he's going to be out for a while. Cosmi is expected to return this week, but he aggravated a hip injury, so we don't know the extent of that. Wide receiver Curtis Samuel, inactive again, questionable for this week. Tight end Ricky Seals-Jones, defensive end Shaka Tony, and offensive tackle Sadiq Charles inactive. Again, Logan Thomas hopefully will return for this Washington Football Team. CMac, our last game on the board. You fought the good fight here. We're 3 hours in, and money to be made on the Monday Nighter. 6 days away. Seahawks, Washington Football Team.
Yeah. Seattle just, man, they look like they're packing it in. This is rough. You got to think that finger just, Russell Wilson does not look right. Both 2 games, no touchdowns. Something's not right here. They can't run it. I think their defense has been decent all year, and they've been on a slew of unders lately. I was on that Arizona one again. I really like the under here. Washington's defense start to play well. That game went over, Ben, you talked about 27-21 with the Panthers. I thought the total was too low. I wasn't going to mess with that. But before that, there was 4 straight. I think Heineke's playing better football. This is tough for me to back the Seahawks in this spot. I think Washington, that defense is finally getting, from all the hype that they were good, were so bad early on. They've been playing better as of late. Even in the few tight losses, that Packers game, I saw a little bit of it. The Broncos, they lost 17-10. They beat the Bucs. They beat the Panthers. Heineke, he's been pretty good. And, it's always tough in years past. I want to back Russell Wilson in a spot like this. Just when you think he's down, it's very difficult. So it's a difficult spot on either side here. And I don't know if I trust Washington all the way. It's tough for me. I lean Washington. I lean the under here. I don't know, unless Seattle finally starts lighting it up, Russell Wilson starts looking great, throwing it around the yard, they can run it. I don't know how this gets over, 47, 48 points here.
I agree. That under is staring us in the face. I think the biggest problem I have here is I don't know what's going on with that finger.
Yeah, it's huge.
If you don't know, if you can't say, oh, it's bothering him, or oh, he's fine, he's going to bounce back here. I mean, that's the biggest issue in this game. And once you know that, you can make your bet. Let's hear what Bobano has to say. Seahawks, Washington football team.
I think we do know a little bit, at least, what's wrong with Russell Wilson since that coming back from that finger injury. He's not the same at the moment. I mean, these are not Russell Wilson numbers at all. These last couple of weeks, you see these completion numbers for him are just abysmal. I mean, 20 for 40. 161 yards, 2 interceptions, no touchdowns against Green Bay. And then last week against an Arizona team that, it had some injuries on defense, 14 for 26, 207 passing yards, barely 50% completions. Again, he's clearly struggling with it. Now, we know he's got to be compromised somehow, some way by this injury, and he doesn't look right now. And I mentioned earlier in the show, this is the answer to the mystery. The other coach that looked exasperated after the game ended, that was Pete Carroll after that loss against Arizona. He looked mentally spent. He's like, I don't know what answers you want me to give you right now. It's hard to put your finger on what's going on with this football team. He looked like a guy that knows this great run of excellence for Seattle is crumbling. Yeah. Russell Wilson may not be back after this year to this team. There's a lot of uncertainty with this team. It looked like a guy that's ready to just move on, go into retirement living at the end of the season, to be honest with you, Pete Carroll. He was despondent. And it just the whole mood of the team after that game in their press conferences wasn't the mood of a team I'm looking to bet on. Now 3-7, playoff hopes just about dashed, going on the road, cross country to play against Washington here. That's not a mindset and a team I'm looking to back at the moment, Seattle. I like Washington here. I'll make that official at Pick'em. And Washington's starting to really get things going a bit. And I got to give them credit for their defense against Carolina. Got stops when they needed it, and they were down 2 of their best pass rushers and defensive linemen. When you're talking about Montez Sweat, who didn't play last week against Carolina, and of course Chase Young missed that game as well. And yet that defense still got in on Cam Newton, got some pressure. Jimmy alluded to the fact that Logan Thomas might be back at tight end. This is a guy that's got like 4 touchdowns this year, 12 catches in just 4 games. He was a difference maker for the Washington football team offense. And you get that big target to go with McLaurin in the receiving game. All of a sudden, you've got weapons to work with. And I'm seeing growth in Heineke. There were times earlier in the year, it's like, oh, Taylor Heineke's starting to look like, the quarterback that's been cut from multiple teams in the past in the NFL. But these last 2 games against Tampa Bay and Carolina, both wins straight up in ATS for Washington, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, averaging 9 yards per pass attempt. He's completed north of 70% completions in both games. So he's completing a high percentage. He's been efficient. He hasn't made mistakes. He hasn't turned the football over. He's used his legs to keep plays alive. He's been a willing and able runner with the football, a great dual threat option at quarterback. and a Seattle defense that, look, they've actually hung in there the last 2 weeks against Arizona and Green Bay, but will get worn down by an offense that's just not moving the football at all in this game. And I worry about this mentality. You know what? And the betting markets are giving you a very clear indication that they're crashing on this Seattle team, because Seattle was a 3-point road favorite at the open. It's down to pick 'em right now, and even -1 with Washington. They see what I see. This is a team at the end of a long, great run of excellence that finally is starting to realize that, you know what? It's just about over for this great run here with this Seattle team in the Russell Wilson, Pete Carroll era, at least in my opinion. So, yeah, I'm on the Washington side here.
Makes sense. Seattle still has that long winning streak on these 1 p.m. Eastern games, which is shocking. And I know they lost to the Steelers in overtime, but that was the Sunday night or the Sunday nighter, I believe. Or was it a Monday night? It was 8:20 p.m. start, regardless. The only fear I have is of, you count Russell Wilson out and he steps up. Bobano on Washington plus 101 makes perfect sense to me. CMac, are you making the under 46 official here for show purposes?
Not this second. No. They've gotten healthier. They're still ranked at the bottom. Washington did, and they went against Cam Newton. But I just like what they've been doing, and they've kind of been bending, not breaking. It's just Russell Wilson. Everything is up in the air there. But I haven't seen Seattle the last 3 weeks, too, with him back, that they do anything. So I'm going to let you know here quick. By the way, before we leave,
in the back of my mind, Connor, is the Washington secondary. It's not been great. They faced a weaker passing game and quarterback last week. That's the one fear. And Russell Wilson still has Metcalf and Lockett and capable receivers. But this is a Russell Wilson that 2 weeks in a row, even if this is maybe a suspect secondary for Washington, it's not done anything on offense the last 2 weeks against Arizona and Green Bay. That's what I can't. And he just does not look like a guy that's fully healthy and has that full, whether it's the grip of the football, who knows? But there's something clearly off with Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson pre-injury and Russell Wilson in the 2 games coming back from this injury, the difference is night and day, and it's been clear in what we've seen on the football field.
I don't want to test him. I do not want to have money and say, the Seahawks are done and you look terrible with your finger. I don't want to do that, but I completely understand why a gambler would at this point, but I'm afraid to do that. Would it surprise you if it went into the half 13-7 Seahawks? I mean, no, it wouldn't if he starts looking right. Oh, God, this is fascinating, and I completely understand the look on Washington. We're going to do a quick review. Bobano, you look like you want to mention something on this game. Do you want to? No,
oh, that's good. I mean, the total's tricky. I mean, I would lean under too, but I agree with you guys there. But like I say, my track record with unders hasn't been good. That's why I try to stay clear of them. But there are games that make sense to the under, and there are a couple. You guys mentioned the Tennessee game. You mentioned this game. The couple unders you did mention, I see the reason for thinking they'll be low scoring.
It was really enjoyable capping this giant card with
you
guys.
It didn't feel like 3 hours. I'm shocked it was 3 hours.
Thank you guys for putting in this time. I enjoyed it immensely.
For Jose, maybe it was 3 hours.
I love it. Can you give me that breaking news one more time? Can I see it one more time? Quickly?
Yeah, hit it.
Yes. Fucking yes. We start Thursday at 12:30 p.m. Bobano made the Lions plus 3.5, available at -121 at Pinnacle, an official play. I am going to be on the other side. I'm going to take the Bears -3 and the under in that game, and I expect to bet it shortly. I'm on the under. Well, I haven't bet anything yet. I expect to bet the under 50.5 in Raiders Cowboys. Bobano has a moneyline parlay Cowboys and Bills for Thursday. Cowboys Bills moneyline parlay pays -115. Then I can understand backing the Bills first half here, but I really feel like after the breakdown that it's a Saints or no bet spot and just stay off. Is this a spot at the Superdome when they're going ballistic, going nuts, where you think the Bills offense is going to get right? Then you have to think that there's real deficiencies in the New Orleans defense, which is a legitimate standpoint. Then on Sunday, Bobano is on the over 45 in Steelers Bengals. CMac is thinking about it, and I'm not moving on that one yet. Bucks.
Yeah,
Colts.
I'm thinking about it too, real fast, Jimmy. I'll let you know. If I bet it, I'll tell you the Bengals team total.
Yeah, you don't have to
in
make
that spot.
You don't no rush. Harold Williams says LOL, no way Bill's big. Dennis says Dallas Vegas under sneaky look. It's I think it's a bet that we're going to cash here, and I'm going to bet it here in a few minutes. Bucks Colts, we're all staying off of at this point. Then I'm moving. I expect to move on the Dolphins. There's no need for me to rush. I explained why I don't have to in that break. But the under, I'm going to move on. Then both CMac and I are on the under 44.5 in Titans Patriots. I have interest in the under in Eagles Giants. So I'm certainly not going to move on it now. I'm going to stare at it for a while. Falcons Jaguars, we're all staying off at this point. Bobano moved on the Jets +3 at -123. And the more I listen to that breakdown, the more I completely understand that side of things. CMac and I are doing nothing. The team total over 22.5 for Bobano on the Broncos is a fascinating look. The Broncos +3 to -125, but it just doesn't make sense for me to bet that with my unit size. Again, if we're betting 5K, then sure, but $200. So I'm not sure what to do with the Broncos here, but I do want to back them off the bye. Then the two spots that I loved, and I didn't realize I was going to until we broke down, is the Rams and the team total over 23.5. Going to be betting both of those tonight. And then Bobano is on the over 48 in Vikings Niners, going heads up against CMac, who's on the under 48.5. And I do have interest, on the on the 49ers -3 at -120. I do have interest. The Vikings are a dangerous dog, but I think it's real what's happening in San Francisco. I do think, though, that Minnesota might see this as their chance to possibly make a run because the Rams could beat the Packers, and then that North could come up for grabs. Then the Ravens -3.5. I think it's a double-up spot for me in the Ravens. I think I'd take them first half full game, but I don't want to get too caught up in what I saw in that Browns-Lions game, and clearly that's happening, and you want to sort of be against what you saw last week. It's been a winning formula this year. Then in the Monday Nighter, Bobano on Washington +101. CMac thinking about the under. I'm thinking about it too, but it's going to take a little bit more time. There you have it. What a treat. And Chiefs and Cardinals on bye weeks. Bobano, CMac, you guys are magic together, and it was nice to get a chance to share capping a card with you guys. I know you guys have big days coming up. This is a huge time of year for us. This is a monster time of year. So CMac back in business tomorrow with NCAA net profits. Bobano back in action with NBA Pub Hub. Let's start with you, CMac. Anything you want to drop for the great capper supporting the show?
Oh, no. Shout out to the chat. All the guys here that watch all the shows. We appreciate it so much. The support is unreal here, especially at Pub Sports Radio. It's a phenomenal place to work with some amazing cappers that we all do. And, yeah, check me out tomorrow on NCAA Profit. And one of these days, I'd love to come on Betting with the Bag. Maybe, a little reunion like the good old days. If Max doesn't go on or something. If I could always pinch hit, and every once in a while, I wouldn't mind it getting in the morning.
Oh,
consider it. Throw that to you.
Consider it done, CMac. Lock that shit in, man. I love that.
For sure. But I love it. This was great. I love sitting and talking about these games. It only makes it better. Taking the time, just hanging out, drinking some beers, and going over this deep. And everyone getting the chat, everything from their comments to ours. It's just phenomenal. I think the more we do this, the better we are. The more we'll win, the more we'll cash. And I love it. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it for letting me get me and Bobano to come on for Bebsy while he's on the road.
It was our pleasure and the audience's pleasure as well. Bobano, any last words, my man?
Yeah, absolutely. I second all of that. Thanks for having us, Jimmy. It was a blast to fill in for Bebsy on his tour and join you tonight for Beat the Line. It was a fascinating card to break down, these late season NFL cards. There's always so many injuries. It felt like we were listing an injury report a mile long. So many of these teams breaking down all of these games, but makes the handicapping process fun and exciting. as you're trying to find those great sides and totals with value. And it certainly helps having everybody in the chat joining us and tuning in. And we thank all of you guys. I say this on every show I host. We're not here without you guys tuning in. And the people that donate, I can't even say it enough, how unbelievably generous it is and appreciative we are that you guys think enough of, three schmucks like us to actually say, you know what, we're going to put money down and donate to the channel because we really enjoy the work that you do and the shows you provide for us, and it means a lot. So thank you a million times over to the family. That's what you are, family in the chat. We love you a million times over. Couldn't do it without you.
Oh, beautifully put, both of you guys. Dan T, James McGinnis, For Show Cash, Gerald Jones, Mr. Fun Monk, Whack Prescott, Terry Walker, Lance LaRose, Dennis Garcia, the community of new knowledge, Chris Brady, Dennis Trusty, Harold Williams. Thank you guys so much for your insights, your humor. You inspire us. Pika9, thank you. Thank you. Now, let's turn this into cash. 4 straight winning weeks. Let's make it 5. On behalf of all of us here at Pub Sports Radio and Jose on the ones and twos, doing a great job. Thank you, Jose, for all the hard work and effort that you put in. It means the world to us. Thank you, guys. And now it is time for us to have a giant Thanksgiving week 12. Let's go.